Ladies, gentlemen, welcome to the second round of the Porsche Endurance Challenge. Coming to you live from beautiful Goiania, the capital of the state of Goiás, located about 900 kilometers northwest from Sao Paulo and less than 200 kilometers from Brasilia, the capital of Brazil. I'm Tony Rivera alongside Carlos Costa, and later, Felipe Bota is going to join us. Carlos, welcome to beautiful Goiania. How are you, my friend?
Hello, Tony. Very big pleasure to be here with you to broadcast one more round of the Porsche Endurance Championship. Quite interesting round because challenging condition for driver and equipment in terms of braking, in terms of tire degradation as well, and that all tends to give us a very interesting race today, 300-kilometer race. So the second round of the Endurance Championship in this 2022 season. We had the opening round at Termas de Rio Hondo, Argentina. Then we will have the final round at Interlagos in the beginning of December. And so far, the situation in terms of championship standings throughout the two championships and the six classes that we have in this Porsche Cup series, it is quite interesting indeed. And apart from that, we have to talk about the guest drivers. A lot of internationally known drivers such as Rubens Barrichello, Nelson Piquet Jr., Ricardo Zonta. So we have former F1 drivers, endurance champions as well. And it will be interesting to see the fact that we have to check how the guest drivers will be, but also their comparison with the regular drivers that they are pairing. So it's very nice to see this format of the Endurance Championship that we'll have in this Porsche Cup Brazil series. So we are talking about the most produced competition cars in the world, and we don't have to talk that much about the Porsche brand. So it's always interesting to see this kind of racing, especially considering the Endurance Championship, because we have, if I'm not wrong, 7 rounds in the Endurance, actually the Sprint Championship, and 3 rounds in the Endurance Championship. So it's a little bit more special, let's put it that way, Tony.
It's gonna be a special event. Thank you all for joining us on this beautiful Sunday. Sunny. We checked the weather, the temps on the racetrack, and as well in the air. So it is hot, it is humid, and like it says, 300 kilometers up ahead. It's gonna be either 300K or 2 hours and 45 minutes, whichever happens first. So the cars went around this racetrack, the Autódromo Internacional Ayrton Senna. We're talking 3,835 meters. So they had a little taste of the conditions right now. So maybe you can provide more info, Carlos, as far as what can be done as far as because we were looking at the rear wing. Can they adjust the wing? The angle of the wing, because I understand that there's very little the teams can do as far as setting up the cars.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Minor adjustments, actually, like the angle of the wing, as you said. So mainly minor aerodynamic adjustments, but in terms of setting up the car, you don't have that much freedom in terms of putting different pieces. And of course, we are talking about a series that has only one team, that is the Porsche Cup Brazil team. So the cars are very similar to each other, and it's actually down to racing itself, to driving, because we don't have this gap between teams, between setups, even though you can make minor adjustments. And especially in this Endurance Championship, it's quite tricky to change the setup too much because you have 2 drivers in the car. So it's also interesting to see how they can set up the car for both of the drivers, the regular and the guest one, especially considering that most of these guest drivers, they don't know the car that much. So it's a tricky situation, and it's kind of a trade-off, because actually the regular driver has to adapt himself to the guest driver as well, as we hear from Renata Diniz, our pit report.
Right.
Muito protetor solar aqui para ver se eu consigo segurar esses 300 quilômetros de Goiânia embaixo dessa lua que tá aqui, um sol para cada um. Olha, o meu primeiro destaque que eu posso trazer é realmente essa situação do Enzo Elias, que estava saindo de boxe, o carro deu uma falhada, e aí eles tentaram, os mecânicos chegaram, a equipe chegou ali, tentou mexer no carro, ele tentou sair novamente, e não conseguiu. Então eles estão averiguando. Daqui a pouco eu trago mais informações para saber exatamente o que está acontecendo e se de repente ele vai trocar de carro, vai com carro reserva. Já trago mais informações para vocês.
Yeah, already an issue there, Tony. It seems that Enzo Elias' car has a problem.
73.
Renata doesn't know yet the problem. She's trying to get information there, but Enzo Elias is pairing with Adroaldo Vestheimer. So let's see if they will be able to fix the car. Anyway, get the issue fixed there to start this endurance race, because of course we are talking about 300-kilometer race and the car has to be okay, but already a problem there, even though we have some minutes to the starting grid.
I mean, that's not how you want to start this endurance event, right? We saw the crew pushing the car to the side, and now they even have the doors open. I even saw one member of the crew running back to the garage. I guess he went to grab, I don't know, could have been a tool or something. But that's not how you want to start the race. The 73 car driven by Adroaldo Weisheimer and Enzo Elias. Hopefully they're going to have that fixed so they can start this event. And keep in mind, this is the main straightaway. This is the front stretch. And that's the end of the pits area. And as you can see, all of those flags, they're waving. I mean, it's been windy. I had the chance to check out the qualifying yesterday, and then the wind was kicking in. And you and Sergio Lago, sending a big shout out to my friend Sergio Lago, who I've known for a long time, for many years now. Did something happen, Carlos, yesterday? Something to mention, something in particular that you might want to share with us during qualifying?
I think since you just hear from Renata and then
Vou tentar chegar mais perto ali para pegar mais informações, mas ele já tá abandonando o carro aqui para o carro ser resgatado pelo nosso carro do apoio.
Yeah, she was saying that I believe it was Enzo Elias, not Adroaldo, in the car. But anyway, the driver of the car number 73 has already left the car. Let's see if they will be using a spare car. This Porsche series has a lot of spare cars, but anyway, that's a dangerous situation there because it's in the exit of the pit lane, even though the situation seems to be controlled. And that's a concern for both Elias and Adroaldo. But talking about the qualifying session, Tony, and since you've mentioned the wind and the weather conditions, it's interesting to note that especially in the Sprint Challenge Championship that uses the old cars, the 991-2, and the driving of this car, it's a little bit more aggressive compared to the smooth driving of the newer 992 car. When you have the apex of the corner in a high-speed corner, especially considering that this circuit is quite high-speed circuit, then you can have the wind as a concern there, because if you miss the apex or you brake too late, or even if you accelerate in a wrong manner, then you have the wind together. It's a dangerous situation. Thinking about the race, I think it won't be that challenging, but anyway, it's interesting to put this factor. We have 32 degrees Celsius, so it's quite hot as well. And in terms of qualifying, I believe that we had most of the front runners in terms of championships in the different classes ahead of the pack. So it will be nice to see, but we have to consider that the guest drivers, they vary, let's put it that way, a lot in terms of performance, because some of these guys, they have raced in the Porsche Cup Brazil for a while already, even though they were guest drivers, or even some of them as regular drivers, and some of the others, they are getting to know this car right now. So it's a very complicated situation for these guys that are rookies to the series, apart from being guest drivers or not.
A complicated situation for the 73 car. They couldn't get it to start. They're pushing it, as we can see on the left on the screens. The yellow car, the 73 car. And this is at the end of the pit lane. I see a lot of crew members trying to figure out what the problem is. What a shame. In the meantime, we see a lot of people in the front straight.
Eu consegui pegar de informações aqui, que me parece que talvez ele faça o primeiro stint com o carro reserva, enquanto a equipe vai checar exatamente o que aconteceu e depois, de repente, voltar com o próprio carro dele para a pista.
Yeah, interesting information there, Tony. It seems that the first stint will be made with the spare car, so they have time to fix their car, and then if everything is okay, they resume racing with their car. But let's see if the spare car won't be needed throughout the whole race.
Would that be for the 73, right? Because they were also showing the AAA, the 88A for Lineo Pires and
Yeah,
Beto.
73, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the 73. Alrighty, and there is our buddy Michelin right there, always happy. Poor guy, man. I've been dealing with these high temperatures, but hey, I mean, he's having a blast. He's having a great time. He's right there in front of the field, the Michelin the character right there. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the racetrack. 2.37 mile length, 3.82 kilometers.
Ivan.
They have the front straight, and at the end, they got the right hander.
Com Alan Helmeister e com Nelson Monteiro, que eu falei assim, o que eu posso perguntar que vocês vão
Renata
querer me
chatting
responder,
there with
entendeu?
Alan
Porque assim, tá
Helmeister
todo mundo
and Nelson
guardando ouro
Monteiro.
aqui,
Let's
ninguém
hear
quer falar
from
nada. E aí uma das coisas muito interessantes para vocês que estão assistindo, que acontece, como a decisão da largada, de qual piloto que vai largar e sair aqui do grid, é uma escolha deles, né, da equipe. Eles ficam aqui, eu falei que eles estão de olho no vizinho, porque ele falou assim, o Alan falou, me perguntar quem que vai largar, isso nem adianta que eu não vou falar. Mas na verdade eles estão aqui, ó, olhando o carro do vizinho para ver, quem será que vai largar ali? É o Paludo ou é o Dirani? Ali na frente também, é o Alceu ou é o Gui Salas? É isso, né, Alan?
Era um segredo nosso, não é pra você falar isso, né? Mas é exatamente isso aí, assim, não é... Todo mundo tá fazendo a mesma estratégia, obviamente, graças a Deus a gente fez um grande trabalho, a gente conseguiu ficar aqui na frente, no grid, mas a gente tá disputando a Hulk, então a gente tá olhando o Lineu e o Betinho ali, outros da Hulk que andam muito bem também, estamos focando neles, porque uma vez que eu coloco o Nelson num stint que é com um profissional, ele vai ter que fazer assim os dois.
Sim.
Entendeu? Porque a gente não pode quebrar esse stint durante a corrida. Então a gente vai sempre estar olhando quem vai, porque uma decisão errada agora, a gente não consegue corrigir durante a corrida inteira. Então essa é a estratégia.
É isso, gente, é estratégia pura. 300 quilômetros é uma corrida muito longa. Mas bacana demais largar dessa posição, né, Nelson? Mesmo defendendo a Hulk, tá aqui nas linhas de frente, é bom demais.
Não, sem dúvida. A gente conseguir largar aqui na segunda fila, numa prova de endurance, com essas feras aqui ao nosso redor, realmente foi muito gratificante. E agora fica aí, né, essa tensão e essa ansiedade aí para saber quem vai largar. Se vai largar o Alan ou vou largar eu mesmo. Vamos ver o que vai acontecer aí, o que a gente vai descobrir. Ele está pronto, eu também estou pronto. E daqui a pouco a gente toma a decisão, entra no carro e vocês vão ver aí.
É isso, os dois têm que estar prontíssimos aqui. Obrigada, boa corrida para vocês.
Valeu.
Ivan?
Yeah, funny interview there. First, we heard from Alan Helmeister, that is the professional and guest driver of this pair. He's racing alongside Nelson Monteiro in the qualified and pole position for the rookie class of the Carrera Cup Championship. So, of course, they have a very interesting grid position, but they have to think about the cars that are way behind, actually, that are their class rivals. So they are, let's put it that way, spying their competitors in terms of class in order to decide who will start in this first stint of the Porsche Carrera Cup endurance round at Goiania. Because, of course, the choice is free and they have to think about the championship as a whole, especially in their class, Tony.
All right, so we have up front, we got car number 8, driven by Werner Neubauer, Ricardo Sonta, the fastest yesterday in combined time of 1:23.476. They got in
As
pole
pessoas não
position.
imaginam quanto é difícil a gente falar esses sobrenomes. Inclusive agora na visitação de box, uma das
We
brincadeiras
hear
que o
now
Bruno
from
fez
Alceu
foi com o
Feldman
nome do
and
Roland
Guilherme
Stankiewicz,
Salas.
para ver se alguém acertava. Porque a gente se embanana mesmo, são nomes muito difíceis. Mas agora, nomes fáceis aqui para falar, inclusive que venceram em termos de Rio Hondo. Alceu Feldman, Gui Salas venceram, mas não ficaram na liderança do campeonato, certo, Alceu? O que dá para fazer de diferente? O que vocês estão planejando de diferente para essa corrida, pensando no campeonato?
É verdade, a Porsche sempre vem com uma surpresa aí, umas novidades, então tem esse lance de mais pontos no meio, tem pontos também no meio da corrida. Então nós estamos priorizando o meio da corrida, o Gui vai largar, vamos fazer uma estratégia diferente. Vamos ver se conseguimos ganhar igual, mas priorizando também esse meio da corrida.
Boa, boa, Alceu. E é isso, eu cheguei aqui e eles ficam me usando, viu, Thiago e Ivan? Eu vou entrevistar uma dupla e falo, e aí, quem que vai largar ali do outro lado? Qual que é a estratégia?
Nada, né, Renatinha? Eu tenho que pegar alguma.
A ajudar, acho que nosso rendimento, a gente é um rendimento um pouquinho melhor na temperatura alta, então nossa expectativa hoje é que tenha um resultado legal.
We're not listening to Guilherme Salas, but anyway, Alceu Feldman was mentioning something interesting there, Tony, because in this new format of the Porsche Endurance Championship for 2022, we have something very similar to the stages that we have in NASCAR racing, for example. So the middle stage of the race awards a lot of points, and that's an interesting thing that happened to them because they won the Termas de Rio Rondo round at Argentina, and they are not leading the championship because of this middle stage points. So they are focusing also on getting these points and trying to get ahead of their title rivals that are Christian Hahn and Diego Nunes. Alceu Feldman and Salas, they have 58 points, less 2 points less than Christian Hahn and Diego Nunes. So this title fight is quite interesting. And Werner Neugbauer and Ricardo Zonta, they have 52 and start from pole position. It will be nice to see.
That's an excellent point. You bring this up. Yeah, because they came out on top. They won in Argentina, and Rio Hondo being the first round of this endurance championship. Alceu Feldman and Guilherme Salas. But like you said, yeah, they come to Goiania, second in the standings, right behind Christian Hahn and Diego Nunes, exactly because of the points that they won, especially at the end of the first stage, 27 points. They award 27 points at the end of the first stage and 40 points at the end of the race. So, and right, there's a 2-point gap, 2-point difference right there for Feldman and Salas, right behind Christian Hahn and Diego Nunes, who come to Goiânia with 60 points.
Yeah, I think we won't have the audio for this interview at least, but she's talking to Miguel Paludo there. One of the most known drivers of the series. Miguel Paludo is a 7-time champion of the Porsche Sprint Championship, so he knows this series very well, and he is racing alongside Denis Girani, actually, there, that is one of the consultants, actually, for this Porsche series. So both of the guys, they know this car very well, even though, of course, Miguel Paludo is a regular driver, let's put it that way. But anyway, Girani is a fast driver as well, and knows the car quite well, as does Miguel Paludo. But anyway, it's a very interesting duo of drivers there. Miguel Paludo, internationally known, actually he has raced only, to mention, this year in the NASCAR Xfinity Series, so he's a very accomplished driver and quite experienced one as well, apart from being a 7-time champion of the Porsche Sprint Championship. And now we have the audio.
A gente vai esperar um pouco para ver o que cada vai fazer também, então a gente vai jogar um pouquinho aí com um pouco de que a gente pode jogar, mas é isso, a gente não está largando na posição que a gente gostaria, a gente tem um retrospecto muito bom de classificação nas Endurances, mas a gente vai tentar aí imprimir o que a gente fala é a média melhor aí, vamos tentar fazer o melhor trabalho e tentar esse começo talvez um pouquinho mais cauteloso para depois puxar bastante durante a prova e tentar fazer o melhor que a gente puder aí, vamos tentar fazer aí, levar esse carrinho vermelho aí para frente.
Boa, e eles estão com uma torcida muito especial, viu? Presencialmente o Luca está aqui com a esposa do Girani, uma fofura, seu filho, uma fofura. E com certeza a Paty e o Oliver estão assistindo, então já tem uma torcida aí de peso para essa dupla e a gente vai acompanhar tudo isso. Obrigada, meninos, boa corrida para vocês. Ivan, com você.
Yeah, it's interesting what Girani mentions there, because they are talking about their combined efforts. Of course, you have to be fast with two of the drivers. It doesn't matter if one is fast, if the other is quite slow. So we are talking about a 7-time champion of the series and a guy that is sort of consultant to the series. And so theoretically, they have the conditions to have a good combining combined pace actually, and they are starting P6, so they're not that happy with their starting grid position. But anyway, even though they are behind Lucas Salles and Rafael Suzuki from the sport class, and Nelson Monteiro and Alan Hellmeister from the rookie class, they are close to the top three in terms of the main Carrera class that are Werner Bauer, Christian Hahn, and Alceu Feldman, alongside their teammates there, Ricardo Zonta, Diego Nunes, and Guilherme Salas. So they still have the condition, and we are talking about an endurance race.
Yeah, so we're gonna pay special attention to that number 7 car driven by Paludo and Dennis Dirani. Yeah, like you said, they are going to start alongside Rafael Suzuki and Sales with car number 70, who, by the way, they got the pole position for the sport class. Remember, we gotta tell the audience that there's three different classes in the Porsche Carrera GT3 Cup, as well as three different classes in the Sprint Challenge. The guys, the drivers, the teams that compete with the 991-2 car, the less power car, but still very competitive. But yeah, so they're gonna start from the third row, sixth place, sixth position in the grid, Paludo and Dennis Dirani. So everything is looking good, my friend, for the start of today's race here in the Autódromo Internacional Ayrton Senna. Taking a look at the fastest car yesterday in qualifying, Neubauer and Sonda, 123, 476 combined time, and fast enough to get the pole position. And on that note, we gotta mention as well the driver for the Sprint Challenge. There's only 9 cars in that championship, being Nelson Marcondes and Renan Guerra with the car 199, the fastest in yesterday's qualifying. They ended up getting the pole position with a time of 125, 292 thousandths of a second. But only 9 cars, Carlos, only 9 in the Sprint Challenge Championship.
Yeah, it's not a big grid, as you said, and it's interesting because in the Sprint Championship we have a balanced grid between the Carrera Cup and the Sprint Challenge categories, but in this Endurance Championship we have a lot of cars for the Carrera Cup Championship and few cars to the Sprint Challenge Championship. So it will be a particular fight between themselves because there's only 9 cars, as we hear now the Brazilian national anthem.
All right, the Brazilian national anthem. So we're getting closer to the start of today's race, coming from Goiania, from Autódromo Ayrton Senna, the second round of the Porsche C6 Bank Mastercard Endurance Challenge. What promises to be an awesome race. Sonny, so do we have an update? Do we know what happened with car number 73? because we saw the car on right next to the racetrack, and we saw all the crew trying to get it going. The 73 car. Um, what happened to Elias' car, Carlos? Do we know anything about it?
Yeah, I have to check here. I'm going to ask our colleague that is covering the race at Goiania. But anyway, if we see an all-white car there, it seems it will seem actually it means that is the spare car. So we have to see if we have an all-white livery there. That is probably a spare car for the 73 of Enzo Elias and Adroaldo Weisheimer. But I don't see a all-white car in this grid, at least so far. And at least I believe that the 73, the original 73 car, doesn't have the condition to start the race, but we'll have to confirm that. I'll ask our colleague there.
Yeah, that's a shame. That's a pity. Because they were looking forward. Look what they're doing because of the heat, because of the how hot it is. They even pouring some water inside the suit, the fire suit on some drivers. So Neubauer is going. This is the number 7 car. It's going to start from the 6th position. Miguel Paludo and Dennis Dirani, number 7 car, and Werner Neubauer, Ricardo Sonta with the number 8 car is going to lead them all for the start of this race. Again, it's a 79 lapper, 79 laps, 300K or 2 hours and 45 minutes. Whatever happens first. That's the format for today's race.
Só para avisar, o espaço do Enzo Elias aqui no grid está separado, o carro está ficando pronto, aí a gente não sabe exatamente se ele vai largar daqui ou se ele vai entrar depois, mas eu acho que agora ele não chega para o grid.
Yeah,
Mas que conseguiram consertar o carro dele, então aqui tudo indica que a gente vai ver o carro amarelo na pista e não o carro reserva.
Renata says that they were able to fix the yellow number 73 car of Enzo Elias and Adroaldo, but probably they won't have time to put the car to align on the grid. So they will probably start from the pit lane. But anyway, that's better to start a race than to miss this event. So the Porsche crew there was actually very fast in order to fix the car and give this opportunity to both Enzo and Adroaldo. But of course, that's a blow in terms of sporting matters, because they will start probably from pit lane and miss a lot of positions, as we saw there, Diego Nunes and Christian Hahn luckily deciding who will start in the first stint.
O engenheiro dele e coach está aqui e falou que ele vai largar do grid mesmo. Última informação.
So let me ask you, how do they determine who's gonna have the first stint? Who's gonna start the race? Or
they are free
is
to
it determined
choose
at the last minute?
They are free to choose. They can choose until the last moment, actually. So we saw that they Christian and Diego, by luck, they were choosing by luck, actually. So it seems that they will have a very, let's put it that way, aggressive strategy, because Christian Hahn is also a sort of professional driver, even though Diego Nunes is a former GP2 driver. So we could expect theoretically a more consistent form from Diego Nunes. But anyway, they have been teammates actually at the Stock Car Pro Series as well. So they have a little bit more freedom to choose their strategy, but they are free to choose until the last moment. And a last information there about Enzo Elias, Tony, it seems that he will start from the grid, but let's wait and see.
Well, that's great news. All right, so again, let's talk a little bit about this layout, the racetrack. 2.37 miles, 3.82 kilometers, long straightaway, the front stretch, and at the end, they got to deal with the right-hander, which is turn number 1. And then from there, they go to a section, a turn, kind of like the flat out. They can take a flat out, at least some. It's called mergulo. And then they deal with the right-hander, Violo. That takes them to Bico de Pato, which is a turn, a left-hander, translated into English, duck beak. And from there, they go to the S, and that takes them to the last turn, Curva Cero, right to the right hand or right-hander, and that takes them again back onto the main straightaway. 2.37 mile, 3.8 kilometers in length. So it looks good, Carlos. Sunny. I know it's hot, a lot of humidity, but then also the wind, a factor they gotta take into consideration. Looking at the qualifying yesterday and the way the flags were waving, it appeared to me that the wind was hitting the cars in the rear end, in the tails. Not so much the case right now. If anything, it might hit the cars just by looking at all those flags. It might hit the cars head on in the main straightaway.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So we can expect the slipstream actually to have an effect since the wind is against the car, let's put it that way. If you have a tow or you can get the slipstream, so theoretically the overtaking maneuver will be easier, but we will have to wait and see, especially in this Carrera Cup main class, because these guys, in theory, they have a similar performance, and the combined efforts of the about gentlemen drivers alongside pro drivers, but in the main Carrera class we have a lot of guys that are already pros. Consistency of the duo of the drivers, so the slipstream will be affecting the cars in the main straight.
That's gonna be interesting to see. Okay, so I mean, going through the field, going through the grid, I find a lot of drivers with a lot of, I mean, not only talent, but a lot of experience. Drivers that have been around, Miguel Paludo, you mentioned. And yes, he does drive for Junior Motorsports in the Xfinity Series in NASCAR. I mean, this is the second year. He runs a few events, a few races for Junior Motorsports in the United States. And Porsche Cup Brazilian Championship back in 2008, 2009. 2020, 2021. So he's been around. He's got plenty of experience. Nelson Piquet Jr., Nelsinho, Rubens Barrichello. I mean, he needs no introduction. So a lot of experience in this field.
Yeah, definitely. Former F1 drivers, Formula E world champion, FIA GT world champion, that is Zonta, in the end of the 90s. So a lot of experience, as you said, and guys that are used to race actually in very different disciplines in motorsport, let's put it that way. Endurance, NASCAR racing, even with Miguel Paludo and Nelson Piquet Jr. Also rallycross, that is something that is known by both Piquet and Rubens Barrichello. Rubens has raced the Sertões Rally lately in Brazil, and of course most of them they are used to sprint races, but a lot of these guys, they are used to endurance racing as well. So it will be interesting to see how they adapt as we see the layout of the Goiania circuit, Tony.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So welcome again to the big audience joining us for this second round of the Porsche Endurance Challenge, coming to you live from Goiania. Sunny, beautiful, hot weather. So we're gonna be talking about a lot of things throughout today's broadcast. It'll be a 79 lap race, 300 Ks, or 2 hours and 45 minutes, whatever happens first. We get a grid of 31 cars, 9 cars in the Sprint Challenge, and 22, obviously, in the Porsche Carrera GT3 Cup, the car with the fastest, with the bigger horsepower, with the most horses. We're talking 510 horsepower. So there's quite a difference there in terms of
velocidade de automobilismo. Estou num lugar muito privilegiado aqui no meio do grid, que já precisamos liberar. Essa prova vai ser desafiadora porque o calor aqui é de 32 graus. Mas vamos com tudo.
32, huh? She said 32 degrees.
Yeah, we're at temperature 32, so we can expect track temperature around 50 degrees Celsius.
Alrighty, so we're about to start. Everybody's leaving the racetrack. They're only leaving the cars, the drivers.
Porsches do mundo no Brasil. Colecionadores, pilotos, proprietários e fãs da marca num dia em família, com experiências na pista e espaços exclusivos. Muitos carros, espaço kids, alimentação e uma super atração musical. Esteja nesse encontro mundial e acelere com a gente. Ingressos pelo site oficial.
Yeah, that's an interesting action there from the Porsche brand in Brazil. That is the Porsche Sports Car Day, with a lot of cars from the brand in the Interlagos, at Interlagos actually, and a lot of well-known cars such as 911 and traditional cars from the Porsche brand. Apart from that, a lot of shows, musical shows actually, and that kind of stuff. So that's an interesting action. It will happen in the beginning of December, December the 3rd. So it's nice to attend if you are able to do so at Sao Paulo.
It's a big event. It's quite an event. They got music, they got music, food, drinks, and obviously beautiful cars. Let's go to the grid. Okay, so the number 8 car, Noe Power and Santa, the fastest. They won the pole position alongside Christian Hahn and Diego Nunes. That's the number 1 car from Salas and Feldman. We saw Monteiro. They were not too happy with the performance of yesterday's qualifying number 7 car. That is Dirani, but it's the 3rd row, position number 6 on the grid. We got Nelsinho Piquet Jr., car number 29. Rubens Barrichello Rubinho in the 3, Cesar Ramos and Frank Gullis, car number 88, 99 for Costa Giassi. Didn't we see Giassi yesterday, Carlos, after qualifying? Didn't he get out of the car and started running? And I was like, what happened to Giassi? And then it turns out that he was also competing in a virtual race, right? So he got out of the car and ran, and because he had another championship that he's participated in, and that's on online. It's a virtual race, so that was interesting to see Jeff Giassi, driver of the 99 car.
Yeah, it was actually quite the opposite way, let's put it that way, that he has done to get to this Porsche real racing, let's put it that way, because he is a simulator driver, a virtual driver. So he actually got this spot on the Porsche grid because of his results virtually. But yesterday he has done the opposite way, going to the virtual race after qualifying for the endurance round.
So he's used to this. It's not something that he's done it for the first time. So he's done it before.
Yeah, and I think we have Felipe Mota alongside us already, Tony.
All right, Felipe, welcome to Goiania. Welcome to the broadcast. How you doing, buddy?
I am okay, Tony, Carlos, listeners and viewers from motorsport.com, Motorsport TV. It's an honor to be with you, Tony, the legend of NASCAR. So let's get into it. Let's go. It's going to be a huge fun.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to have a blast. We're coming out of the last turn. So we're just waiting for the lights to turn off. All right, side by side. Here's the field. The lights are out. Here we go. Let's pedal to the metal in Goiania. Right off the bat. Problems. Right in the back. We see a car spinning. It's on the grass. Sadly, we're going to check in just a minute to see who it is. But let's see who's going to come out on top, coming out of turn number 1. But that's so sad to see a car spinning around. Hopefully the driver is going to be fine. Hopefully it's going to be okay, Carlos. We saw the car spinning. It's right here. Number 74 car. That's a hard hit.
Yeah, dangerous hit, actually. And we can expect safety car or something like that because it's in the outside of the main straight. So if someone misses the braking point or misses the apex at turn 0 right before the main straight, then it can have an effect. So they have to rescue that car. Car number 74, that is from Francisco Horta, if I'm not wrong. I'm checking. No, Piero Cifali and André Bragantini Jr. That's it.
Yeah, they are in the rookie class in the sprint challenge. So right off the bat, they're calling the safety car. So they're under yellow right after the start. I mean, didn't even have the time to get to turn number 1, I believe. And this 74 car We saw him spinning around. He went off the track. So we're going to check. We're going to have a replay at some point and see exactly what happened to the 74 car. But it's completely destroyed, Felipe.
Yeah, completely. What a bad way to start the race. A very, very tense moment. We have a safety car just in the first corner. Let's see the replay. We had a pretty clean start in the beginning, in the first positions, but then we have a crash. Let's see what happened here, Tony.
All right, so where's, okay, 74, we're looking for the 74. It's at the end, at the very end. It's one of the sprint challenge. I don't know, I still gotta see it. Unless you guys, okay, let's see. Maybe in this replay, it's on top of the screen. The guy was, okay, he was on the right lane. Unless he might have veered to the left, ended up hitting the other car, the nose of the other car. But I'm not 100% sure. But that's probably what happened. The car, the 74 car, driven by Piero Cifali. Let's see. Let's see this again from a different angle.
That's it. He was touched by Ricardo Fontanari and Matheus Iorio's red car there, so he lost control and went directly to the wall.
What a shame. What a pity. That car is done. They're out. In lap number 1, the 74 car driven by Piero Cifali and Andre Bragantini Jr.
And they had to deploy the safety car because the car was stuck there in a dangerous position. Let's hear from Renato Diniz.
Só para falar que o piloto tá bem. Piero Cifali tá bem, tá tudo certo. O Edu engenheiro tá aqui e já me confirmou.
She was just confirming that Piero Cifali is okay, so we don't have to worry about his health or anything like that. And we have to highlight how safe these Porsche Cup cars are, both the 992 and the 991-2. And the safety car is out, Tony.
Yep, so we had the yellow flag briefly for probably just a couple of minutes. So the pace car is off the racetrack, and here we go again. Number 8 car, Neubauer and Sonda, the fastest in qualifying yesterday. They got the lead. Good crowd here in Goiania, here in the main straight. Here's the green. Here we go again. At the end of the front stretch, this main straight, it kind of goes down a little bit, and they negotiate this turn number 1. It's a right-hander. So, right, it's number 8 car and the 26 car driven by Christian Hahn and Diego Nunes, running in second place right now. Everybody jockeying for position, fighting for position, and maybe a little bit cautious now, Carlos and Felipe, now knowing what happened to the 74 car of Piero Cifali. Could have been, do you think, could have been the fact that the tires were not up to temperature yet?
Yeah.
That could have been a factor?
Yeah, maybe, because it was a weird move. As you mentioned, we had he has to touch someone, the nose of some car, but in the image we didn't see, it was a weird way to start the race, the guy just crossing the middle of the straight. And we have to remember, we have 79 laps. So after this crash, I wouldn't say people will be extra cautious, but they had a kind of, warning that, okay, guys, we have a pretty long race. Let's be safe to have opportunity to find a way to get a good result and finish in a good position. Of course, you have to be aggressive. You have to get positions, but not in 1, 2, 3 laps. We have 79. It's a long race.
I totally agree. I mean, listen, you are not going to win the race in the first lap, but for sure you can lose the race in the first lap, and that's what happened to the 74 car. They are out of the race right now.
And you have to highlight the fact that we have some guys out of position. For example, we saw the interview with Alan Halmeister and Nelson Monteiro before the race. They were leading the rookie class, but starting 4th generally. So they lost 2 spots already, but they are still leading their class. So they have to be cautious in that matter as well. And of course, as Felipe said, the race is too long. And as you said, Tony, you can lose the race in the first corner, but not win it. So they have to be cautious and tactical as well.
Saw the number one car, the Tag Heuer, driven by Alceo Feldman, going on the inside. This is the 73 car. Alceo Feldman and Guilherme Salas. Yeah, so they ended up winning the first round in Argentina. Let's remember the audience that there's only 3 rounds in the Endurance Championship. This one being the second. And the last one, the third and last one, is going to take place in Interlagos. That's going to be a long race. Today's race is 300K. It'll be 500K, 500 kilometers for the third and final round in Interlagos. When is that going to take place exactly? In November, next month, right, Carlos?
It's actually beginning of December the 3rd.
Okay.
In November, we have the sprint round in Interlagos alongside the F1 GP.
That's what I read. Okay, so is the other series, the other championship. All right, so approaching Christmas, right? Yeah, already in December.
Yeah, because it's going to be a weird with the World Cup, the football World Cup, the calendar of motorsport in Brazil. It's different, you know. So as Formula One will finish before, they will have some opportunities to explore December, to have, you know, more people engaged. Of course, when Brazil is playing, nobody will pay attention in anything else. But in other days, you have the December just to be, you know, to have the spotlight with you, with no Formula One, no MotoGP. So it's going to be good for TV broadcast and even for people who will attend the race in the track.
Okay, so a very important question for you guys. Is Brazil going to win the World Cup or what?
I hope so.
It's certainly one of the favorites, but I'm not celebrating in anticipation. Just to confirm there, guys, we had the communication from the stewards. So the incident between Piero Cifali and Matheus Iorio and Ricardo Fontanari's car, the car number 34, it will be investigated by the steward. It's being investigated, actually. So we did, in fact, indeed have the touch there between the two of the cars.
What a battle here. We got car number 26, driven by Christian Hahn, Diego Nunes, trying to pull away from Alceo Feldman. We also saw Rubens Barrichello just waiting for his turn to get in that car, drive that car. Rubens Barrichello, let's see. We got the replay. Side by side, trying to overtake the other car, trying to overtake Jeff Giassi, number 99 car. So we already in lap number 5 out of 79. So I understand that after 12 laps, guys, 12 minutes into the race, they can actually start going to pits, make that first pit stop. Is that correct?
Yeah, the pit window is open, so you can alternate the drivers and the stints, but they have to think overall. So we were talking about that those points that are awarded in the middle stage of the race. Tony, I believe that they will be thinking about those points because it's a very important situation, and that's why Christian Hahn and Diego Nunes are leading the championship and not Alceo Feldman and Guilherme Salas. And Guilherme Salas, in this moment, on the charge there, over Werner Neugbauer. Werner is in the car in this moment, so the first stint of the car number 8, it's actually Ricardo Zonta, not Werner. So both of the guest drivers, they are battling between themselves, and both of them are stock car Pro Series drivers in Brazil as well. So Ricardo Zonta versus Guilherme Salas for the lead.
What a battle that they are having right now, and right behind them, running in that third position. Isn't that Christian Hahn running third? That we see.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Christian Hahn. They were 32 thousandths of a second right behind yesterday in qualifying, behind the car number 8, Neubauer and Zonta. So they started second, from the second spot in the grid. This is the main straight and the draft or slipstream, trying to gain the spot, trying to overtake, trying to go for the lead.
And what a day for Enzo Elias so far, Tony. From being close to not start a race to overtake there Lucas Salles, I believe. Yeah, that's car number 70. So he's already getting close to the top 3 in the main Carrera class, even though he has a sports class driver ahead of him in this moment. But his pace seems to be good.
Yeah, and it's important, Tony, because we have a lot of international drivers, but sometimes for Motorsport TV viewers, it's important to see who probably is not famous all over the world, but really strong driver. Enzo Elias is a very, very good driver. Keep an eye on him.
And he's the leader of the sprint championship. So very good year so far for Enzo Elias, who is a very young driver as well, to me.
No, I've seen the guy drive. I mean, he's a racer. He's got the hands. He's a very, very skilled driver. So that's why I said at the very beginning of the broadcast, when we saw the 73 car being pushed to the side, I said that's a shame. That's a pity that he's got to start today's race probably from the pits or having so many problems right from the very beginning. Because I know he's one of the protagonists in the championship. Okay, the best lap. Who's got the best lap? 1:24.017. That's the best lap so far. Yes.
Yeah. Currently, Guilherme Salas inside the car, if I'm not wrong.
1:24.17 of a second. Beautiful day in Goiania. Sunny. Different battles side by side, and the cars are very equal. Like
Tony,
we said. Yes, sir.
You mentioned sunny in Goiania, my friend. Sunny,
hellish, I would say.
Yeah, it's another level of sunny. It's too hot. Goiania is in the middle of Brazil, so in the countryside. When it's 30, 35 degrees, you can count 40, 45. It's too hot there, believe me. Yeah.
Somebody said that you can put an egg on the racetrack.
Yeah, for sure.
That thing is gonna cook. Or maybe a steak, right? It's gonna cook. So what's going on right there? What are they checking?
Disqualified car number 34 of Ricardo Fontanari and Matheus Iorio for the incident with Piero Sifari. So a heavy penalty there, a disqualification because of that crash that we had right in the start of this race, Tony.
Car number 34. Yeah, in the sprint challenge class, right? Absolutely. Fontanari, Matheus Iorio. DQ disqualified. What a shame. So better luck for the next round in Interlagos. This is quite a battle. Number 8 car, Neubauer. And obviously, many drivers waiting for their turn.
Yeah, both Werner Neubauer and Rubens there. You could question why they are together. Of course, we don't have teams in this Porsche Cup Brazil, but we have same sponsors. So the car that is currently being driven by Franco Giaffoni, Rubens' teammate, has the same sponsor of the car that is currently being driven by Ricardo Zonta, that is the teammate of Werner Neubauer.
That was a great shot of the essay. That kind of complicated turn. So yeah, Rubens Barrichello, I'm telling you guys, I mean, obviously he doesn't need any introduction. He's already 50 years old. He's been around, was born in Sao Paulo, won 11 Grand Prix in F1, raced in F1 from 1993 through 2011, raced for Jordan Stewart, Honda, Brown, Williams, and of course, Ferrari. Finished second in the standings in 2002 and in 2004, right behind the Kaiser, Michael Schumacher. So, yeah, plenty of experience. Yes, sir.
And it's important to say Rubens is crazy about motorsport. He loves to be in a car. For this reason, we don't feel the age. He's not aging, you know. He's not going slower. He's one of the top drivers of stock car. And a stock car is very tough series to be on the top, especially for drivers who came from one-seat cars, and he was one of the best ever. So he's amazing. Rubens has all respect. He deserves all respect.
Marcelo Hahn off the track, car 116 is on the grass. We saw him right now. Competes in the sport class in the Carrera Cup 992.
Yeah, so it's possible that we won't have the chance to see one of Rubens' rivals in the Stock Car Pro Series racing today. That is Alan Kodair, the teammate of Marcelo Hahn. And there we see Ricardo Fontanari retiring the car. Actually, he was disqualified, so that's a shame for him. Yep. And we have to say, we all know Ricardo Fontanari. He certainly did that intentionally, but anyway, it was a very dangerous incident, so he was disqualified. And interesting battle there. I believe that Enzo Elias is ahead of Christian Hahn.
So in the meantime, it's car number 8 still in the lead, the fastest in qualifying, trying to keep that distance over the number 1 car, the Alceo Feldman car, and Guilherme Salas. It's right here. This is the battle for the lead. This is the battle for the first place in the slipstream. Drafted up on number 8 car, driven by Neubauer.
And Neubauer is already preparing there. Yeah, that's what Renata says. Neubauer is already getting... yeah, that's what she said, getting ready to get in the car. And the interesting battle, because we have 2 Stock Car Pro Series drivers there, Ricardo Zonta and Guilherme Salas, and they have pretty much the same pace as we see the first change of drivers happening in the right side of the screen.
Now, let me ask you guys, I understand that every time they go to pits, they gotta wait at least 6 minutes. Otherwise, they're gonna get penalized, correct?
Yeah, that's it. So that's an extra factor because this rule, it comes to get the grid balance. So you have to wait for that time in order to be equal for everyone. So that's an extra factor. And of course, it's complicated for the driver to wait until the end of the 6-minute window. But anyway, it happens with everyone, so it's fair to everyone.
So it's gotta be at least, yes, sir.
And one important information this season, the pit stop, you need to change the driver. Until last season, you could run in a kind of double stint. So one driver stops, you stay in the pits, but the same driver come back to the track. This year is not possible anymore, so you have to change the driver, and the pit stop needs to have at least 6 minutes. 6 minutes minimum of a pit stop. So when a car goes to the pit lane to do its pit stop, you have to change the driver to keep racing.
Yeah, I understand that for today's race, the minimum number of laps that the driver with the lower BOP, balance of performance, is 40 laps, according to the rules.
That's it.
For today's race, right?
Yes. I mean, Miguel Paludo there on the charge, yeah, overtaking Lucas Salles, it seems.
What a move, the red car, the brand car. It's a very likable guy. I had the pleasure of meeting him. This is probably about 10 years ago. He came to visit us in the studios in Los Angeles. So we actually did a broadcast together with, he was, well, as a guest. Very cool guy. A driver with a lot of experience, Miguel Paludo. And like I said, you know, he's very well known in the States. He's very well known in the United States, particularly when the Xfinity Series or the Track Series compete in road courses. As you know, for the most part, they compete in ovals, but every now and then they compete in road courses such as this one. And that's when drivers like him, or in the past, Nelsinho Piquet, they excel. Like Nelsinho, I remember Nelsinho calling some of his races in NASCAR. He actually won a few races. He won a Road America back in 2012 with Turner Motorsports, and he won twice in the Truck Series, Michigan and Las Vegas. I know those are ovals, so he won three times in the National Series.
Yes.
In the United States.
And that's quite a statement of his quality and his versatility as a driver as well, because Piquet has raced in rallying and NASCAR, of course, F1, Formula E, and Miguel Paludo, I think only this year he has raced 2 or 3 Xfinity rounds. So he's a very experienced driver, as you said, Tony, and more pit stops happening in this moment.
Absolutely. So we're gonna see some driver changes right now going on lap 14 out of 79. So what do you think, guys? Are we going the distance? Are we completing all 79 laps, or it'll be 2 hours and 45 minutes?
I think now we had a pretty quick safety car in the beginning. If we keep in this pace, I would say we will finish with the total laps. But of course, it's a very long race. We hope nothing happens, but it can happen. But with this pace, I would say we finish in 79 laps.
All right.
And we have to consider also the fact that we had the sprint championship round last weekend. So in terms of safety car deployment, car rescue, actually, they are already trained, let's put it that way, because we had a very eventful weekend in the sprint championship. So I believe I agree with Felipe, total laps, but of course, anything can happen.
Let's keep in mind that by lap 40 is gonna be the end of the first segment. But they don't have to stop, do they? I mean, it's gonna be the end of the first segment, but that doesn't mean that the yellow is gonna come out, right?
Exactly. They keep running. Yeah.
All right.
Exactly.
I'm pointing that out because I mean, we're talking about stages. With the report.
Just a quick information there from Renata Diniz, our pit reporter. She was saying that Lucas Salles is getting ready to race with the spare car because their main car had an issue there. So that's why he's waiting there alongside the car with no sponsor. So a clean livery because it's a spare car. And we have to highlight that in this Porsche Cup series as well, because the organization is quite serious. So we have we have a lot of spare cars in order to give the drivers the opportunity to race, even though they have an issue with their original car. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but they can only switch to a backup to the second car only if there's a mechanical issue, right? Only a mechanical problem. Not if they get into a wreck. And what if they get into an accident? That's not the case, right? Correct. If they get into an accident, they have to abandon the race, correct?
Yeah, because the accident is their problem, not the serious problem. Let's put it that way. We have to remember that we have only one team, that is the whole Porsche Cup Brazil team. So they give this opportunity if there is a reliability issue or anything with the car. But as you said, Tony, if they crash the car or anything like that, then in sporting matters, it wouldn't be fair as well.
Number 87, Nelson Monteiro and Alan Hellmeister. They're in the rookie class in the Carrera Cup 992 Championship. So they're already making their first pit stop of the day. 3 in all. According to the rules for today's race, 3 pit stops minimum.
Lucas Salles dentro do carro reserva já, enquanto a equipe está trabalhando no carro dele. Provavelmente ele vai fazer esse stint e depois eles vão voltar com o carro deles mesmo. E o Rafa Suzuki está aqui do lado, orientando, e a velocidade, eles estão na maior correria para o carro sair logo daqui.
Yeah, that's it. Lucas Salles is already inside the spare car, so it seems that they will do this stint with the spare car while the crew tries to fix their original car. And Lucas Salles already inside the Porsche there, and Rafael Suzuki, that is his teammate and coach, is giving him instructions.
All right, so they're going to the backup. Car number 70, that number 70 car, the first one, obviously, the one that you said they're going to try to fix, that was the fastest car yesterday in qualifying in the sport class. So that was 5th overall, but they were the fastest in their class.
And ahead of some of the drivers of the main Carrera class. So we have to highlight their performance, and let's see if they will be able to maintain this pace with the spare car. And in terms of recognizing the car, it will be easy because it seems to be a gray car. So I think it won't be a problem.
See that car slowing down. I mean, something might have happened to it because he ended up losing 3 spots right there in that turn to the right. Yeah, so going back to the Carrera Cup 992 championship, 22 cars in all. They took the green flag, 6 cars in the Carrera class, 7 cars in the sport class, 9 cars in the rookie class for a total of 22. In the meantime, in the sprint challenge class, or championship rather, there were only 9 cars. I know one is already out due to the accident, and the other one was disqualified, the 34 car, driven by Fontanari and Lorio. So it was 4 cars in the challenge class, 1 car only in the sport class, and 4 in the rookie class for a total of 9.
But the guys from the rookie class, they have points also for the sport class championship. So it's actually 5 cars in the sport class and 4 cars in the rookie class. It's a little bit different, as we see the car number 70 with the identification there, the gray car going back to the track, Tony.
Lucas Salles, yeah. So it's Lucas Salles behind the wheel, right? Because we saw Rafael.
Exactly.
Lucas Salles.
Lucas Salles.
Perfect. Confirm. Guys, I understand that Goiania, I understand that they're big on country music in this part of Brazil.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's the countryside of Brazil, one of the countryside. So it's far away from the. We saw Rubens Barrichello getting ready to step in the car. So Goiás is Goiás, the state. Goiânia is the capital of Goiás. So right. Goiania is it's like 2 hours of Brasilia, the capital of the country, the capital of the country where all the government is established. It's far from the sea, so it's really countryside. Very, very important for the Brazil is a country who produce a lot of commodities and we export a lot of food and soil and beans and rice. So when it's really important for that, not Goiânia but Goiás, the state and the region, and but it's important to say people all over the world know Interlagos as the biggest track of Brazil, but Goiânia has a local importance. Because if you interview the drivers of Porsche Cup, of Stock Car, it's not unanimous that Interlagos is the best track. Of course, Interlagos is a temple, is a very important place of Brazil, not only of motorsport. But Goiânia as a track has a huge reputation with the drivers. It's a very challenged track, some speed corners, very a lot of places to attack, to overtake. So Goiânia, I would say, is the second most important track of Brazil, as we don't have a Rio de Janeiro anymore. So Goiânia is the second track most important. But for some drivers, if you do a poll asking Goiânia or Interlagos, I would say a lot of drivers will say Goiânia. So it's really important to understand that this place is really key. It's a really key part of motorsport in Brazil.
Absolutely. And the fact that this racetrack, carries the name of Ayrton Senna, considered by many in the world as the best driver in the history of the motorsports, right? Number 66, Sadak Leite, Fabio Carboni in the rookie class in the sprint challenge. He went over the gravel, he went over the grass, over the gravel, and I think he already made his way back onto the racetrack. So side by side, that 76 car complicated himself, but he's not out of the race. Number 99, this is Jeff Giassi and Nicolas Costa.
Yeah, battling there with Rodrigo Melo, that is the teammate of Nelson Piquet Jr. And that car that went wide there, Sadak Leite, as you said, that's a shame for him because he's leading the rookie class of his championship. So let's see if he will be able to recover the car and resume racing, as you see Rubens Barrichello waiting for that 6-minute window in order to go back to the track.
I read this somewhere a long time ago that Rubens Barrichello, that his grandfather's name is also Rubens. His dad is Rubens. Okay, we got a spinner. Top 21, car number 66. Is it this? Yeah, it is the same car. Sadak Leite. So he spun around, went off the track, on the grass, but he's making his way back onto the asphalt. I see the left side looks good. The rear end looks good. Doesn't have a flat tire.
Yeah, the tire certainly is not okay anymore, but it seems the car...
what happened?
He lost the rear, I believe.
Let's see what happened. Unless they might have been a touch, but then I see a lot of dirt because he went off the first time. Okay, it's this one here. It's this one on the left.
Yeah.
He lost the
he
rear.
went. Yeah,
Maybe
he
some
went
oversteer.
wide. Yeah, for sure.
And a strange racing line there because he was outside and the apex of the corner and lost the rear. So maybe wind as well.
Maybe it had to do with that, but the fact that, yeah, absolutely, he couldn't go for the apex because there was another car right next to him on the right.
But he couldn't battle from the outside actually. So it was in a way a driving mistake, but he was able to resume racing at least.
Off he went, but he's gonna continue on. Number 66, Sadak Leite. What a battle! I mean, we see that number 8 car. We've seen him up front all day, and then Feldman and Salas with the number 1 card as well. They're looking very sporty, man. They're looking really good. That car in the Carrera Cup 992 championship.
You were talking about Ruben's grandfather.
Oh, yeah,
Trevor.
right. Yeah, exactly. Right. So I read this somewhere. This is a long time ago. And then he says, so my grandfather, his name is Rubens. My dad's name is also Rubens. So
Yeah.
the grandfather was, I think he said they call him Rubao. And then he said, and then my dad is Rubens, so I am Rubinho. So he's in the family, he's Rubinho.
Exactly.
The youngest.
Yeah, and he's, I would say, almost all over the world, because Rubinho, everybody calls him Rubinho. Now we have some people calling him Rubens as well, Rubens, but Rubinho, and it's tradition in Brazil, as the football players, we have Ronaldinho, Robinho, it's
Nelsinho.
And Nelsinho. Normally we use Inho when it's short or little, and when it's the biggest or the older, Rubão, and so Fabião, Rodrigão.
Little Rubens and big Rubens.
Exactly. But there is another coincidence with the family, because Rubens, the father of Rubinho, they have 2 kids, Rubens and Renata. Renata is the sister of Rubinho. So Rubens born in the same day of his dad. So Rubens born in the same, Rubinho born in the same day of Rubens, and Renata born in the same day of the mother. So the family has 2 birthdays. So mother and the daughter, father and the son. So it's just a coincidence. But let's be honest, it's a weird coincidence. How many people born in the same day of the father and the daughter in the same day of the mother? So they have just 2 parties in the year because they can celebrate together.
Gotcha, man. That's crazy, man. That's awesome. That's good info right there. A lot of people, I'm sure, at home, they're scratching their heads. They're like, how can that be?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and I read sometimes that Griezmann, the French football player in Atletico de Madrid, he has 3 kids who born in the same day.
No way.
3. No, yeah, I read. I don't know if it's
because
true,
they're triplets, maybe. I got you.
Yeah, I have 2 brothers that were born in the same day, but one in 1992 and the other in 2005. So that's a coincidence as well.
Oh my God. That's something else, man. All right, so guys, 24 laps into the race. So what do you think about the race so far?
Yeah, it
Carlos.
seems that the battle especially in the main class in this moment is between Zonta and Salas. Of course, they were racing alongside, side by side, actually battling for the first position. And Zonta is the teammate of Werner Neugbauer, Salas the teammate of Alceu Feldman. And it seems that Miguel Paludo and Denis Girani, they have an interesting pace as well. And we have to remember the fact that Denis is in a way a consultant to the Porsche Cup Brazil series. So we can expect him to have a very similar pace to Miguel's. So I would say that these three driving duos, they have a good situation, and we cannot count out Christian Hanna and Diego Nunes as well.
Okay, so the number 1 car, now that the number 8 car has made his way into the pits, into the garages, now the number 1 car is moving up to take the lead.
Eu estava aqui no box do Franco Giafone, ele já ficou bem chateado que aconteceu isso, mas acabou acontecendo um erro realmente de cronometragem aqui.
Oh, it seems there was some mistake there with the pit stop window of Franco Giafone and Rubens Barrichello. I didn't see any penalty here, but possibly they didn't wait until the end of that 6-minute window that we were talking about. Let's just confirm this information.
Right, because it's got to be 6 minutes. I mean, there's no penalty if you go over the 6 minutes, but obviously if you go under the 6 minutes, cannot be 5 minutes and 50 seconds, cannot be 5 and 55. It's got to be 6 minutes at least. Otherwise, they're going to get penalized. And yeah, we saw the number 3 car making that stop probably about 10 minutes ago when Franco Giafone pulled into the pits. And then we saw Rubens Barrichello jumping in that number 3 car. So now let's go back to this car. I'm liking this number 1 car driven by Feldman, Guilherme Salas. It's looking very sporty, guys. That car is looking really good, as well as the number 8 car.
Exactly. Very, very good pace. Very interesting battle. It's important to mention that those Porsches, of course, when you mention the brand Porsche, you are talking about the greatest cars in the world, but the layout, the painting are amazing. When you look these cars, in person, it's unbelievable. They have a very good, painting, very artistic, very good for the brands. So it's a very interesting to walk around in the pit lane with all those Porsches, parking, one inside of the side by side with the other. So the cars are really beautiful as well. Fast, secure, and beautiful.
And just to confirm, guys, the
Yes.
pit window there of the change of drivers with the car number 3. So it was 5 minutes and 1 second. So that's something, quite something actually, and it won't be valid. So theoretically, they have to stop once again in order to do that driver change.
Yeah, I was gonna say because it's got to be 6 minutes, right? So if they stop for 5:50, depending on how long, depending on how long it took them in pits, is the penalty that they will issue, depending on if it was 5:50 or 5:55. But in this case, it was just barely over 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's what you say, because if you do a pit stop window with, let's put it that way, hypothetically, 5 minutes and 59 seconds, then you give a 20-second penalty and you resume racing with the car. But it was 1 minute lower than it should be. So that's a lot of time.
So what's going to happen at that point? Is it going to make a drive-through? Are they going to stop him?
Stop or driver change. So theoretically, if they pit stop once again and they wait for the 6 minute window, then Rubens can resume racing. That's what it seems. But of course, they lose a lot of time because it is like the driver change hasn't been made,
I see. All right, so the 73 car That remember that was the car that had some issues, some problems at the start of the right at the start of the event, at the start of the race. Um, he was battling with the number one car, but the number one car, the Feldman and Salas car, went into pits. So the 73 is now moving up. Lap number is 28 out of 79 in Goiania. The 300 kilometers or 2 hours and 45 minutes for this second round of the Porsche C6 Bank Mastercard Endurance Challenge. Okay, I'm not gonna say sunny, guys. I'm not gonna say sunny anymore. So what do we call this? Well, it's an oven. I was okay, hell. Okay, you said it. It's hell because of the high temperatures.
Yeah, it's interesting because sometimes I don't know even the words to translate. Carlos, help me. This region, you have this very specific song music, which we call sertanejo. Sertanejo in English would be country music.
Okay.
You know, the people who sing with the big hat, boots. Very country music. So there are many pairs. Normally they sing in pairs, two men or one man and one girl. So it's very important region of Brazil, very specific region. When we go there, we love to go there because they are friendly, happy, parties. So it's a very interesting place to be.
Yeah, definitely. And in terms of music, it's something like a country pop music for translating into English, because it is country, but it is very popular as well. And we hear now from Ricardo Zonta, that is being interviewed by Renata Diniz.
Porque o Salas e o Enzo estavam mantendo ritmo bem forte, então era toda a volta classificando. Eu consegui cuidar bastante dos pneus, né? Porque se você agride os pneus no começo, ele cai. Então eu consegui ser bem constante. Agora o Werner vai sair com o pneu novo para a gente tentar andar bem rápido, porque tem na volta 40 uma pontuação muito importante para o campeonato. Então a gente vai tentar ficar na frente.
Procedimento.
O procedimento. E aí, pro final, a gente muda de volta a estratégia para tentar ganhar a corrida. Daí.
Isso. Pensando sempre nos segmentos. Obrigada, Zonta. Ivan?
Interesting interview there by Zonta, because he was talking about the fact that he was under pressure from Guilherme Salas, but he was taking care of the tires as well. We were talking about how hot the city is. Of course, track temperature is a factor, and he couldn't waste his tires, let's put it that way, even though he was under pressure from Guilherme Salas. And he was talking about their strategy as well, as we see their car number 26 overtaking car number 8. But Zonta said that they opted to make the pit stop now in order to give fresh tires to Werner Neugbauer, and they are aiming for the win of stage 1. So they get these points. If I believe it's 27 points, if I'm not wrong, and lap 40.
27.
Yeah, so that's it. And then they reverse to the previous strategy in order to try to win the race. It seems now for the stage, Enzo Elias is in a good situation, but now we have to think about the stage and the race win. And in that matter, the situation of Zonta and Neugbauer seems to be good, even better than Enzo Elias and Adroaldo's situation. Tony.
So, yeah, that's right, Carlos. So 27 points are going to be awarded by lap 40. That would be the end, as we see the number one car leaving the pit area. So 27 points are going to be awarded at the end of the first segment by lap 40. 24 points awarded to the second place car, 22 to the third place, 20 to the fourth, 18 to the fifth, and so on and so on. And at the end of the race, it's not going to be another 27. No, it'll be 40 points for the winner of the race, 36 points awarded to the second place, and 33 to whoever finishes third. So that's why you brought this up at the start of the broadcast, that in Rio Hondo, Argentina, the first round of this Carrera Cup Endurance, even though it was Feldman and Salas, the drivers that won the race, they're not
Exactly.
leading the championship. If anything, it's Han and Nunes because of those 27 points that they gain at the end of the first stage. So, and then they ended up gaining another 33 points at the end of the race. So that put them
Eu
on
posso
the
falar que
top
eles
of the
estão muito
standings.
próximos de vir para box. Do que eu colhi de informação aqui no box deles. Eles estão muito próximos.
Just a quick information there by Renata. It seems that Enzo Elias is getting close to the moment of the pit stop, so we can expect a change of driver. So Enzo Elias stepping out of the car and Adroaldo Weisheimer stepping in. But of course, that has an impact in stage one, especially considering that some of the front runners that are competing against Enzo Elias, they have done their pit stops already.
I mean, they got the first. I mean, I'm sorry, Felipe. Okay,
No
so
worries.
we are 8 laps. We're 8 laps from ending that first stage. So maybe after, obviously, I mean, at least that's my guess that they would make that pit stop after lap 40, so they can gain those points, right? Or for the to win, so they can win the first stage.
Yeah, but we have to consider the fact that Enzo Elias has been in almost qualifying pace throughout the whole race because he didn't start in such a good position, even though he wasn't in the back of the grid. But anyway, in order to advance and gain positions, he established a very interesting pace. So the tire degradation may be an issue, especially with the heat and the track temperature. But let's wait and see. I would try to do what you said, Tony.
Yeah, I mean, now they're only 7 laps away, Felipe.
Yeah, three quick considerations. First is just confirm what Carlos already said. The Rubens and Giafoni, they will not be, punished with some penalty. Just the pit stop is not considered. So it's, of course, this is the biggest penalty they could have. So as they didn't, stop 6 minutes, they stop at 5 minutes. It seems it's almost as they stop in any corner of the track. Okay, let's be 5 seconds.
It's like a 5-minute penalty added to the race time, not a 5-second.
Exactly. So they will not need to stop again and stay stopped. The minutes they lost in a hypothetical pit stop, it's not working anymore. And so it's not counting anymore. So it was like they was just running. So what happened? The 73 Enzo Elias.
He's going for the pits.
Yeah, he just crossed in the middle of the grass. So I said, "Oh, what's happening?" So very key moment of the race. Now they will stop. They still are the favorites to be the leaders in this first segment. And as you said, Tony, the better strategy of the race is to compromise first segment with the second segment. It doesn't mean if you win the race you get more points. So you need to be really strong in the first segment and still fight for the victory in the second, because in this compromise you can have the more points you are able to get.
All right, so they're thinking big picture, right? Rather than going for the points for awarded for the first stage, they're thinking about the big picture, thinking about winning the whole race, the whole thing. So they're making their way in lap 33, car number 73, Enzo Elias. So we're gonna see Adroaldo Weisheimer take the wheel of that 73 car. He's looked good, as well as the number 8 car, as well as the number 1 car right here. This green car moving up the field. So those 3 cars, man, they've looked really good. And let's see. I mean, we still got a long way to go, and I'm still want to see that number 7 car, because I know he's looked good throughout the year. The number 7 car driven by Miguel Paludo and Dennis Dirani. Alceu Feldman Guilherme Salas, number 1 car, negotiating this right-hander. Then we see, all right, so this number 8 car got a great pace, great rhythm before that pit stop. And in between the one,
que vocês
report.
criaram, inclusive para você que está aqui, muito calor, 33 voltas seguidas, Enzo.
De fato foi uma estratégia arriscada, mas se não tiver risco não é legal, né? A gente começou a corrida já naquela muvuca, o carro parou na volta de box aberto. Então eu tô feliz com o meu trabalho, acho que eu consegui render bem. Goiânia é muito mais difícil de ultrapassar. E o calor matou meu carro ali no meio da corrida, quando eu cheguei no Gui, no Zonta. Ficou mais difícil de ultrapassar, mas eu sabia que eles tinham um ritmo forte. Preferi manter atrás deles do que arriscar alguma coisa um pouco mais ousada. Bater o carro, tirar a gente da corrida. O Adroaldo, tenho certeza que vai fazer um ótimo trabalho. Tô muito feliz com o que eu entreguei. E é isso.
Já você volta.
Já eu volto para fazer mais umas voltinhas rápidas.
Obrigada, Enzo. Ivan?
We heard there from Enzo Elias. He was highlighting the fact that he's happy with his job, especially considering the eventful start of event that he had with the car number 73 on the side of the exit of the pit lane, right when the box was open, the pit lane was open actually. So actually they were afraid of not starting the race. Anyway, he was able to have an interesting first stint. He mentioned that he was able to gain some positions and climb a little bit the back there, but when he got behind Guilherme Salas and Zonta, the heat was a factor, so he had to preserve his tires and so on. But anyway, he's happy with his job. He's confident with Adroaldo's stint, and he will be back in the car in a moment to establish another fastest lap or something like that, because it seems that Enzo indeed has a very fast pace. At least in this endurance race that we have at Goiania. We have to remember the fact that he has won here last weekend as well in the Sprint Championship, so he knows the circuit very well, and he was pointing out the fact that it's difficult to overtake actually because it's a high-speed corner. So when you get with the front runners such as we see right now, Sil Feldman, Han, and Werner Neugbauer, you have to be extra cautious in order not to make any mistakes and retire the car. So let's see what they are able to do, both Enzo and Adroaldo.
So Enzo Elias, I mean, he did such a great job. He handed the keys, so to speak, to his teammates, to Adroaldo in first place. Obviously, they're still waiting for that car to finish up his pit stop so they can send him back onto the racetrack. In the meantime, we got this battle for second place in the car class. This number 8 car, remember, they were leading the race early on, so right now they're running in the third place. So the 73 car is the car that we were talking about, driven by Enzo Elias, and now with Adroaldo Weisheimer.
An interesting battle there between the car number 26 and car number 8, Christian Hahn and Werner Neugbauer, but that's good actually for Alceu Feldman and Guilherme Salas because they are a little bit ahead. The car is currently being driven by Alceu, car number 1. Let's hear from Renata once more.
Ivan? Acho que vocês não estão prontos para essa cena aí que a gente está vendo nesse minuto.
I don't have to translate that, guys.
I mean, you gotta stay cool, right? I mean, in this case, they got that portable, inflatable, mini swimming pool, but whatever else, man. As long as you keep fresh, that's all it matters. Here we go with the 73, Adroaldo behind the wheel. Adroaldo Weisheimer leaving the pits.
Essa orientação do Alan, pelo que eu peguei de informação, personal trainer do Enzo, que tá fazendo um trabalho com ele já há alguns meses e sugeriu isso. Então ele saiu correndo, tirou o macacão, eu tava ali perto, não tava entendendo nada, falei, onde ele tá indo? E aí foi pra banheira de gelo.
Yeah, we joke about that, but actually that's an instruction from his personal trainer. So he removed the overall and went directly to a pool with a lot of ice as well. So that's also an instruction from his personal trainer, but I believe that's a instruction that makes the client happy. Let's put it that way.
And very important, they gotta stay hydrated, right?
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
so they can withstand this long race, this endurance race. I'm telling you, this is a big test, not just for the machines, but obviously for the drivers, especially in this heat, and especially in this weather. So they gotta stay hydrated.
And we have to consider that Enzo had a quite long stint, so it was a challenge for
Correct.
him, especially.
Absolutely. All right, so these are the leaders. He went a little too wide. The number 26 car. He went over the dirt, over the grass. They touch. This is the battle for the second place, battle for the second spot. The 26 slightly. He went a little too wide a few seconds ago, but still manages to keep the second place, trying to keep at bay the number 8 car. And these pieces that you guys see right here, this came from the 74 car early at the start of the race. The car of 74 of Piero Cifali. They had to abandon the race in the first seconds into it. The lap way outside the racing line. So right there, the 26. I mean, he could have lost the car, the control of the vehicle, but still he managed to maintain the second place, Felipe.
Exactly. The battle is really strong, and sometimes they go wild. We are seeing Ricardo Zonta a little bit tense. He's opened his eye and said, "Oh my God," because they went a little bit off. We saw the sand, went, up. So, of course, it's a long race, but sometimes you have to take some risks. You have to attack, because maybe if you overtake, you have, fresh air just to push. And Werner is really strong driver, really. I would say Christian Dam as well. We are watching a very nice battle between two top drivers in the series.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's quite a show. I mean, great battle for the second place. And this is a gap over these two while they're still battling for the second place. So I mean, props, man. I mean, you gotta that's great what the number 26 driver did, Christian Hunt, because again, he could have easily lost control of the vehicle. He went wide, went over the grass, but managed to stay on the to keep that second place and keep that car at bay. The Werner Neubauer, a very aggressive driver. But I mean, still great battle between those two for the second spot.
And we are talking about, Tony, some of the top drivers in terms of regular drivers of the series, guys that are competing in the sprint championship and also in the hosts, let's put it that way, to the guest drivers. So Christian Hahn, Werner Neubauer, also Enzo Elias, Alceu Feldman as well, and Miguel Paludo, even though Miguel's season isn't that consistent. He had some problems in terms of reliability as well and so on. But anyway, we are talking about a 7-time champion. And let's check it out. Car number 555 must stay 6 seconds more in their pit window in the next pit stop. So probably they missed the minimum time there, and it is the car for Ayman Darvic and Sergio Jimenez. That's it from the challenge, the Sprint Challenge Championship.
Correct. The 555. I see the 555 car, the 777 as well. We got the 888 car. That's in the Carrera Cup 992 championship. So that's driven by Lineo Pires and Beto Gresse. So a very great, I mean, very interesting race. A lot of battles happening at different sectors of the racetrack. And then on top, on the screens, we see the number 1 car. That's Alceu Feldman.
And battles throughout the whole pack as well. That's the nice thing to have different classes in 2 categories. So we can always see something happening.
Right, so it's back. The yellow car, the 73 car, driven by Weisheimer. Got a long stint, Enzo Elias. They were 13th fastest yesterday in qualifying. And they are, as you can see right here in the standings and the graphics, how they showed the 73 and the 73, and how they are positioned in their respective classes. We're talking about the 555 car, the 777 car.
Yeah, Ayman Darvic and Sergio Jimenez. And we saw 2 times the car number 73 because actually Adroaldo is the host driver, let's put it that way. So even though Enzo Elias is a regular driver of the Sprint Championship, he is racing as a guest driver and he's racing in the rookie class, theoretically, even though we all know that Enzo Elias is a pro driver. But so he leads the rookie class, the general class, let's put it that way, the main carrera class, and of course the sport class as another leader.
And Tony.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we have something interesting now. The pace of the pair with Denis Girani and Miguel Paludo, because Denis Girani now is in the track, racing against us, Alceu Feldman, Chris Ham, Werner Nogbauer. So he has now the best pace between all of them. He's in 4th position. Last lap, he was really fast, pushing hard. So he can be one of the top drivers in the end of the segment and, even progressing for the second half of the race. So it's really interesting to understand now what's going to happen. We are in a very important moment. We are just going to the half of the race in these next 2 laps.
All right, so this is the second time that the 26, remember a few minutes ago, he went a little wide, but this time, okay, is the left rear.
Puncture,
left rear. I mean, it's right. We see a lot of pieces flying out, and hopefully there's not going to be any damage to the quarter panel, to the actual body of it. So he's trying to make it back into the pits. This 26 car. Remember, he was battling the number 8 car. He was running in the 2nd place.
He's going back to the pits,
end of
but
the
he's
first
quite
stage, right?
fast. Yeah, that's it. First stage. But he's too fast there trying to go back to the pits. He may damage the car that way. And that's a blow. We are talking about a car that was winning contender there.
The 26, absolutely. I mean, he just looked really good throughout the whole race, throughout the first stage. So we are at the end. This is the end of the first stage. Lap 40 out of 79. 27 points are going to be awarded to the winner of this stage. All right, guys. So when this happens, can they replace all 4 tires, or they are only required to replace the blown up, the tire that blew up? Only.
They can change the tires, all 4 tires, if they want to. No
so
problems.
it's up to them.
Yeah.
It's up to the team. Got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, gotcha.
And we have to say, because Enzo Elias did a very good drive, very good pace in his laps, but Adroaldo Weisheimer, when he got the car, he was, I would say, much better than expected. Not because we expected something bad, but he was really good to keep the pace of the car and fight for the victory in this segment. Very good
To
a
maintain
very
the
good
pace of the other championship leaders, so that's quite something, Felipe.
Exactly. So he did a fantastic job, Weisheimer, in these last laps of the first segment. Very good.
So I wonder if the tire, the left rear on that 26 car, driven by Christian Hahn, I wonder if it got damaged. Remember about 10 minutes ago when he went slightly off the racetrack? I wonder if that did it. I wonder if that cut the tire and eventually, ended up blowing up. I wonder if that created the problem.
I was thinking about that as well,
Could
because
have been.
theoretically it has an impact in the structure of the tire. It may not provoke, let's put it that way, a puncture in the moment, but of course it has an impact on the structure of the tire and may have been a contributing factor there, apart from the stint itself and the tire temperature, the track temperature actually. And we have to remember that the car number 26 was under strong pressure there from car number 8. So some factors that might have contributed there for the puncture. Another one.
Yeah, another one. This time is car number 44, Gustavo Farah and Sebastian Moreno.
Yeah, driver from Colombia.
All right, big shout out to the Colombian friends watching the race. So it's also the left, just like the 26, it's also the left rear.
Yeah,
Number 7 car driven by Dennis Dirani. Yes, Carlos.
No, it seems that the left rear has been under a lot of pressure there, especially considering that the whole layout is a high speed one. So it might be that the left rear is the most compromised tire in this moment. So we can check if the pit stops, actually the drivers and the pair of drivers, they are focusing or not in changing the left rear.
Yeah, we talked about a few things that the teams can do to the cars, like adjust the angle of the wing, or they can also, I understand they can also adjust the pressure, the tire pressure, right? Carlos?
Yeah, that's it. I was muted here, sorry. But that's it.
All right. All right, then. So we got number 7 car. Dennis Dirani. So a few minutes ago, Miguel Paludo in the garage, the other driver of this 7 car, the brand car. On board with the 88, the Giorgio Franguli Cesar Ramos car. Negotiating that turn that in third gear. They got 6-speed sequential transmissions, these cars. All right, that's the 73 again.
And we were talking earlier, Tony, about the power of these cars. The 992 car has 510 horsepower and the 991-2 485. So they are both very powerful cars.
Yeah, I mean, quite a difference though. We're talking about 25 more horses, right, for the Porsche Carrera GT3 Cups. I mean, 25 horses. That's quite a difference, right there.
Infelizmente a gente estava numa posição muito boa aí para continuar na disputa do campeonato. A gente está líder por enquanto. E não sei se foi um toque ali com o Werner ou de pegar muito a zebra que ocasionou um furo no pneu e depois ele estourou. Mas consegui, na mesma volta, graças a Deus o box estava aberto, consegui me arrastar, entrar, a gente fez a parada obrigatória, então não perdemos tanto assim, então a gente tenha perdido uma volta. Se Deus quiser, a gente consegue desdar essa volta aí e voltar para a disputa.
Valeu, Cristiano.
Yeah, interesting interview there with Christian Hahn. He said that happily their pit stop now, even though it's been made because of the puncture. It counts as one of the obligatory pit stops, the mandatory pit stops, and he hadn't pitted yet. So theoretically, they don't lose that much of time, apart from the fact that he was with a puncture taking the car to the pits. But anyway, he was talking about the championship. They are the Carrera Cup main class leader, so they will try to contain damage, let's put it that way. And Diego Nunes is a very fast driver as well, that he will replace now Christian Hahn, a former GP2 driver and one of the most known drivers of the Stock Car Pro Series as well.
I mean, that would have been a lot worse had they completed their already mandatory pit stops and having to stop yet again because of that tire. So, I mean, it's sad because they had a great pace. They look really good. I mean, but they're still in contention, right? It's not like they're out. So, I mean, many things can happen, man. I mean, there's got plenty of time, plenty of laps. So until the checker flag, I mean, you guys know anything can happen.
For sure. It's something bad, but the time they lost, it was more or less the lap they run with a flat tire, because they will have to change the strategy. They will not, they could not manage anymore the best moment to have a driver A or driver B, but they lost time in a pit stop they would have to have any moment of the race. So it's not ideal, but it's not the worst scenario.
And side by side, for the lead there. Yeah, that's it.
Side by side, number one car, the Tag Heuer car, still trying to keep the lead. All right, 3Y, negotiated turn number one. The right-hander still on the inside, being pressured by the yellow car. Feldman still keeps the lead. The number 7 car, he made his way into the pits just a few seconds ago. The car driven by Dennis Dirani. So great battle right here. So are we gonna see a driver change?
Yeah, I think Girani will be out and Miguel Paludo back to the car, I believe.
All right. Perfect. So that's the battle for the top spot, for the first place.
And I think actually also Feldman overtook their Adroaldo Weisheimer, because Adroaldo and Enzo Elias, they won the first stage. So now also Feldman is going to the lead.
Yeah. The Stag Heuer car is leading the race now, lap 46. And that's the backup, right? That's the silver car that we saw.
Yeah, the spare car, Lucas Salles and Rafael Suzuki. That's it.
Number 70, that's correct. I'm telling you, I mean, he's got a great pace, looking good. I think he's looked good throughout the whole season. Now this other car, looking for a different lane, he was switching to the right. I guess he was trying to, I don't know, looking for some clean air, which is really important for downforce. Maybe that's what he was looking for. Okay, we got Rubinho, we got Rubens Barrichello driving the number 3 car, closely followed by Neubauer, number 8 car. Okay, we got a problem right here. They didn't lock it. They didn't secure it well. Oh, what a shame. Rubens Barrichello. Check that out.
I was going to say,
what an eventful... They didn't secure it.
Yeah, what an eventful race for them, because they didn't get the timing of the pit stop right, and now this issue. Let's see the replay, Tony.
Exactly. So he was blocked right there when he was trying to leave. This is number 3 car. So right there at low speed, everything looks good, except for, check it out. I mean, you can even tell it's not well secure. Right now, he's leaving the pits. That's when it's going to pop up right there. That's when it's going to pop. And then the number 8 car is going to overtake him. So he's going to have to go all the way around this racetrack like this.
Yeah, and he has to pit, otherwise the race director will mandate
Jesus. Yeah, it's quite dangerous because he's not seeing anything. We can see the lights of the car. Yeah, he's coming for the pit. Yeah, pretty bad, pretty bad.
Yeah, what a shame. Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it happens. I mean, it happens everywhere, right? It happens everywhere. But those little things, you know, they can cost you the race.
Yeah, the race is already compromised, and it was since the moment that they missed the right timing there in the pit stop. And anyway, even worse situation there now. And we have to think about the fun that Rubens was supposed to have, because he had that issue with the pit stop, and now this issue with the engine cover or anything like that. So no fun so far for Rubens, just problems.
Oh no, at all. All right, so this is the leader, the number one car. Yeah, they want to be on top of the podium at the end of today's race. Number one car, Alceu Feldman Guilherme Salas. Okay, do it right this time, guys. Now they're gonna push it. And all the time that they lost, only because of that mistake.
Yeah, it's important to remember the first half of the race was really quick. We have a pretty quick safety car on lap 1, no more safety cars, and then they push a lot and just one pit stop. In the second half of the race, we will probably have most of pairs having 2 pit stops. So the second, even without safety car, probably the second half of the race, it's a little bit longer because of the pit stops.
And just communication from the stewards, their car, the 777 car of Josimar Jr. and Sergio Ramalho, they will have to stay for 12 seconds more than the rest of the pack in their next pit stop, probably because they didn't get it right in terms of timing in their first pit stop.
I mean, but they gotta understand, right? They gotta stay there for 6 minutes. All right. I mean, there's no other way around. They know that if they leave the pits before the 6-minute mark, they're gonna get penalized. So why compromise, the race? Stay there 6 minutes and then leave.
Yeah, that's weird, and especially really in these cases in which we have a short gap, let's put it that way, because in Rubens and Franco Giaffone's case, it was a 1 minute gap. So we can assume that was a human mistake there, a very big mistake, but not something intentional, I would say. But when the gap is quite close, you can assume that one could have wanted to get an advantage there. And of course that happened. So I totally agree, Tony.
Now, do we see, is that Miguel Paludo behind the wheel in the car number 7? Most likely, huh? Because it was Dennis Durrani that was driving it a few minutes ago, but I went to pit, so it's probably Paludo behind the wheel of that number 7 car, who just came out ahead of the leader. Him. It is Paludo. All right. Yeah, he came out ahead of Neubauer. I'm sorry. Ahead of Alceu Feldman, who's still leading the race and with tires up to temperature, unlike the number 7 car of Miguel Paludo.
Yeah, this camera on board is really nice to see what the drivers can see during the race. It's really important to understand it's so hot, long race, to keep the concentration and the focus for so many laps, for so many hours. It's something really tough, and they are really doing well so far, and knock to the woods, so far no problems at all.
And only 2 cars retired so far. So what Felipe says is important, as well as we see the pit stop there of car number 1 that was leading.
All right.
This is still leading, actually.
Well, not for long, because it's going to stay there for the 6 minutes that we've talked so much about throughout the whole race. So yeah, so now we have the number 7 car driven by Miguel Paludo. Well, yeah, going back to what you were saying about the this endurance event, the endurance race. I mean, such a battle right now. I mean, I'm telling you, it's such a great test for not just for the cars, but for the drivers, man. I mean, especially in these high temperatures, so they gotta stay hydrated. Here comes Paludo. And not only they gotta, I mean, they have to stay hydrated. They gotta drink water, liquids, and so on and so on during the race, but not just during the race, but obviously before the race.
Yeah, that's an important factor. So nutrition and that kind of stuff, it has an impact as well.
Neubauer against Paludo side by side. Who's gonna come out on top at the end of this long straight? They're approaching this right-hander. We see Paludo on the inside. I don't know. He might have received a little bump from the number 8 car.
I think so.
Slightly. Just telling him, hey, here I am. You know, a friendly bump. Here we go. Let's take a look. Again, I think he bumped him. He went on the inside, looked for the apex. Here's the 8 car, Neubauer. Oh, yeah. Just a little touch. No big deal.
No.
Because he didn't even move the number 7 car. Sometimes when that happens, you see the car kind of going tail fishing. That's not the case in the number 7 car. But it's such a great battle. Look at that number 8 car. Okay, going on the inside, going for the place, going for the spot. He took it cleanly. And they went over the dirt slightly, but he ran for the move, for the overtake. And finally, he overtook the number 7 car.
And let's see if Miguel Paludo will be able to regain that position, because the fight seems to be intense, but of course they have to think about the race overall in terms of pace and tire degradation as well.
Again, this is the front stretch. They're approaching turn number 1, which is to the right. Long straight, going downhill. Not only went for the overtake past number 7 car, but it seems to be, Carlos, that he's pulling away a little bit from Paludo.
Yeah, I believe the gap is already close to 1 second there. But Miguel Paludo is possibly managing his tires as well. But anyway, the pace there from Werner seems to be a little bit faster in this moment. And of course, he's ahead in terms of the race overall. The starting position of Werner was P1, and Miguel Paludo and Dennis started 6 on the grid. So, and we have to consider also the gap of laps. They possibly are not in the same lap. I'm checking here. Let me confirm. No, they are in the same lap.
So he went for the lead. I mean, he went for the overtake, and he did it. He went on the inside. Talking about the battle we just saw between the number 8 car and the number 7 car, Neubauer and Miguel Paludo. So the 26 is back, right? Remember the 26 suffered that puncture? We just saw it right now. Number 26 car, Christian Hahn and Diego Nunes. They lost the pole position yesterday by 32 thousandths of a second. Yes, Carlos.
No, they are back. Currently, the car is being driven by Diego Nunes, but they are way behind the pack. We see there, let me check, also Feldman, Zonta, and Paludo. Almost all of them in the same lap. Diego Nunes as well in the same lap, but the gap between this train of cars, especially between Zonta, actually Neubauer and Paludo, to Nunes is quite big already. So they have a lot of ground to make up to.
So Diego Nunes behind the wheel of the number 26 car. Diego Nunes, his 36-year-old driver, was born in Curitiba. It's right here, the number 1 car. A few minutes ago, he was leading the race. So I'm assuming it's Guilherme Salas behind the wheel of the one car now. We're going to confirm that in just a bit.
I believe so.
So Diego Nunes was born in Curitiba. Did I pronounce that right, guys?
Yeah,
Curitiba?
perfect.
All
Diego,
right.
Diego Nunes, he raced in GP2, was one of the first Brazilians to race there after Nelsinho and Xandinho Negrão. He did well, but he didn't got an opportunity to keep racing Europe. He came back, he raced Porsche, he raced stock car, very fast driver, very funny guy. His family has a market is specialized in chocolates. He is the, I wouldn't say king because his father is the king. So he is the prince of the chocolate salesman. You know, they sell a lot of chocolate.
Gotcha. The chocolate man. With experience in Formula Renault 2.0, 2.0 in Brazil, Formula 3 Sudamericana, Formula 3000 in Italy, GP2, as you mentioned, in Asia, and obviously with experience in stock cars in Brazil. Diego Nunes. So a lot of experienced drivers in the field. Lap 56, guys, of 79 for the second round of the Porsche C6 Bank Mastercard Endurance Challenge. Quite a battle in the front straight. Approaching the turn number one. Here we see again the number one car of Guilherme Salas.
Yeah, I believe in this moment that Salas attacking Werner Neubauer there. So interesting fight.
Guilherme Salas just went inside the car. More fresh than Werner Neubauer. Okay, I think they touch. The one is slightly goes off the track. Loses ground to Neubauer. Let's see this again. All right, he was all over the number 8 car. Turn to the left. What happened? Is there any touch? Did he touch the number 8 car? That's the question. And I think he might have bumped him a little bit. Maybe it did. But Neubauer managed to stay on the racetrack. Not so Guilherme Salas, but that was just briefly. Still in contention.
It seems, they are. Sorry, Felipe, go ahead.
Go there. Go.
No,
ahead,
it seems that the car number 1 tried to overtake in the inside line, but Werner closed the door there, and then car number 1 had to contain himself and lost a little bit of control there. But we have to wait and see the replay from another angle, actually.
Yeah, I was looking at the front of that number 1. I'm sorry, Felipe. I was looking at the front of the front end of the number 1 car driven by Sala, but it looks good, Felipe.
Yeah, and it was, lucky that nothing happens because at least one of the cars could be damaged in a way to be out of the race. So it was a really tough moment. They battle. I think he brake a little bit late, trying to put the nose of the car maybe inside. It was impossible, and they almost touch. They touched, but they almost crashed. So lucky enough to be both of the cars to keep racing in the same spot.
Who's getting ready, Carlos?
That's Enzo Elias, so we can expect Adroaldo Weisheimer to go to the pits, and they will make another pit stop, and I believe that Enzo will go until the end of the race.
All right, so Enzo Elias started the race in the 73 car, then handed the car to Adroaldo Weisheimer, and now he's getting ready. I saw him going for the Balaclava. I think it's going to end the race, Enzo Elias behind the 73 car.
Yeah, but we have 3 mandatory pit stops, so possibly Enzo Elias will fly a little bit with the car there, let's put it that way. And then Adroaldo finished the race, and interesting battle there. Nelson Marcondes, if I'm not wrong.
Okay, so you're saying that Elias is not going to end up the race?
Yeah, no, he can, Tony, he just can do 6 more laps. After six laps, he will pit again because we have the pair of drivers, the regular driver and the guest driver. The regular driver has to race 51% of the race, and the guest driver 49. So they choose Andrew Elias do long runs in the first half to get points from the first segment, but now he needs he just can race 6 laps more. So
Right.
Adroaldo will be in the final 15, 16 laps of the race.
So it's gonna be like this. So it was Enzo Elias at first, handed the car to Adroaldo. Now Adroaldo is gonna stop. Is gonna give the car back to Elias, and Elias eventually is gonna stop for the final. What would be the final
Yeah.
pit stop, and hand the car again over to Adroaldo Weisheimer. Correct?
Yeah,
Correct.
that's it. And Enzo's mission, let's put it that way, in this moment is to virtually have a qualifying pace in order to get a good advantage there for Adroaldo.
Yeah,
Check
it's
this out. Go ahead.
it's important to remember that the other cars, the guest drivers did more run as well in the first stint. So even Ricardo Zonta will not be able to stay in the track like more than 10 laps. So most of them will race 5 laps to 8 laps, and then the regular driver will do the rest.
All right. Perfect. Getting to know this beautiful championship, this beautiful category with my buddies, with my colleagues, with Carlos and Felipe. What a battle between these two, man. I mean, we saw that in the first stage, and it continues on. Remember, they bumped a little bit, but they are back at it again. I mean, the Neubauer and Salas and Neubauer.
An intense fight, even with the bump, but a clean fight, I would say, Tony.
Yeah, absolutely. Racing hard, but clean. In the slipstream, number 8 car, or as they say in the States, in the United States, ended drafting up on number 1 car by Guilherme Salas. So he went a little wide. I mean, maybe not enough traction anymore on that set of tires. He went a little wide, in my opinion, in that right-hander. See it again.
Yeah, seeing again, especially the image in which they take the apex of the corner. I agree with you, Tony.
Right there. All right. Yeah, sometimes, I mean, the driver wants to do something, right? And but the thing is, the car sometimes just won't let it do it, because
Exactly.
the balance is not there. Maybe the car is pushing, or is tight, or it's got oversteer, it's got understeer, and And what about here? Some damage on the front. This is Rubens. This is Rubinho.
Yeah, and it's exactly Rubens in the car. So, what a bad day, huh? Let's be honest. What a bad day Rubens and Giafoni are having together this Sunday.
You know what, guys? I hate to say it, but he's got a puncture. Neubauer, he's got a puncture.
And that's
It's
actually Zonta, not Neubauer. I've
It's
seen
Zonta
now.
now.
Yeah, the helmet, the yellow helmet, and what a blow. Tony.
The right rear. It's coming apart. Exactly. Remember, he was battling with the number 1 car. Here's Paludo coming in. What a blow for this number 8 car.
Really,
Ricardo
really bad
Sonda.
because they were fighting for the victory. So it's terrible. What a moment! And they are doing the whole lap with the tire that blowed. So losing a lot of time.
And remember, guys, we saw the same issue only on the left side of the cars, but this time it's on the right side.
Exactly.
We saw it on the 26 car. So He's gonna feel like this lap is endless until he makes his way into the pits.
Exactly.
Yeah, and he cannot go too fast, even with the puncture, because that might have an impact on the structure of the car, the suspension, and so on. So that's a blow, and I believe the race loses one of its contenders because, of course, it's a lot of time lost there. Even though you can do the pit stop and change driver as you would normally do, would have to do anyway. But with this whole lap, it's a lot of time lost.
Yeah, what a pity, because we were watching that battle between the number 8 and the number 1 car. So, I mean, well, finally he made his way into the pits. Ricardo Sonda, the fastest guys in qualifying yesterday, with a time of 1:23.476. So 20 more laps, and this second round of the endurance challenge is gonna be in the books. We're just gonna be waiting for the big finale in Interlagos for the longest race, 500 kilometers.
And the situation now is quite good for car number 1 of Alceu Feldman and Guilherme Salas, especially, even though Miguel Paludo and Denis Girani, they can fight for the win as well, but the situation is quite good for this car. We have to remember the factor that we already pointed out regarding car number 73 of Adroaldo and Elias. Adroaldo will have to finish the race, so they will lose time with the pit stop there. So situation is very favorable for Alceu and Guilherme Salas, Tony.
Absolutely. So he's completing another lap, and we see the standings and the different categories, different colors, to show you the different classes competing in today. All right, the 73 car. I mean, he's looked really sharp, looked good. See, they this guy, the mechanic, he makes sure that hood is not gonna come up. So going back to the number 3 car, because we were talking about the number 3 driven by Barrichello, and then we had the incident with the tire. So I don't know. I mean, that 3 car, that hood doesn't look very steady. So at some point, I think it might open up again. Hopefully, that's not going to happen, but I don't know. It's shaking a lot, especially in clean air. That thing is going to pop. It's going to pop open again, I think. I hope it doesn't happen. Hope it doesn't happen.
That's what I was going to say. It seems that it is close to opening, let's put it that way, but we want Rubens to have some fun at least. So let's see if it doesn't happen. That would be good for Rubens at least.
Guys, how are we doing with the time? Is it gonna be, are we going the distance with the 79 laps or 2 hours and 45 minutes?
Well, we had restart at 12:45. So yeah. I believe laps.
Laps, I believe laps as well.
All right, perfect. So we're going the distance. This is the AAA car, Pires and Beto Gresse. Yes, Felipe.
Sorry, I call you and then I muted. So normally we have 15 minutes per 10 laps, more or less. And most of the drivers of the pairs will pit again. So we have, I think, 26 to 30 minutes, more or less. If
inside
happens.
the time window, I believe.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So hopefully that tire did not create any damages on that quarter panel and the number 8 car. Hopefully it was just the tire, the puncture.
Yeah, it seems so. And even though we had some punctures and drivers going wide, one or another spin, clean race so far, apart from that incident right in the start, Tony.
Yeah. I mean, just a few bumps here and there, but nothing big. Exactly. So this turn right here is called Bico de Pato. It's a duck beak, right? that that turn to the left, that left-hander, Bico de Pato.
Exactly.
In Interlagos, you have again as well. You have as well. So we have a lot of ducks. That's what's the name in English? Pico de Pato, ducks.
Duck beak.
Duck beak.
Beak. Yeah, exactly. So Interlagos has its own duck beak as well.
All right, 2 more cars making their way into the pits. Okay, so we got turn number 1, and turn number 2 is called Mergulo.
Mergulho, yes.
What does it mean, Mergulo? Diving?
Diving, yes, exactly. Diving.
I looked it up, and I mean, sometimes the translation may not be right, but that's what it appeared. Diving.
Yeah, diving.
Maybe because it's a fast right-hander, right?
Exactly.
Very fast
A fast right-hander, and it's a very slight downhill, so that's why it's a dive. Let's put it that way.
And that, okay, so they got to dive into that right-hander, and then that takes him to a slow right-hander. Got a report.
Yeah, she was just confirming there that Ricardo Zonta was in the car when they had the puncture, and now Werner is taking the car. But anyway, it seems now you can see, Tony, that we have a lot of similar names to the corners in Brazil, because we have the dive-in also in other circuits of our country.
But to be honest, Tony, I like because nowadays we have normally turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. I love when the turns has interesting, like Peraltada in Mexico, exactly. When you have like Eau Rouge in Belgium, you have the name, the personality of the turn. For me, this is something small, but makes a lot of difference when you have this kind. And in Brazil, you have a lot. In Interlagos, you have a lot. Every turn, there is a name, a very particular name. So I really like that.
All right, so we talked about Mergulo. Is Mergulo, the right-hander, takes him to Miolo. Is there a particular meaning for that? The name of that turn?
Miolo means the middle.
The middle,
kind
okay.
of. It can be other. You can have another translations, but Miolo means.
That's the case, Felipe.
Yeah. But Miolo is the middle. You know, the center, the middle. So Miolo is normally we use even in different tracks. For example, in Formula 1, we normally say Miolo in the middle of the lap. For example, it's not necessary one turn. Can be the second sector of a track. You said, oh, now the guy is driving in the Miolo, the middle of the lap.
Especially if the sector is a slow speed sector, because it has that meaning as well.
And that's what it is. It's a slow sector right there. It's a right-hander. It's a 180-degree turn, and obviously to the right, Miolo. All right, so we saw the best lap. The best lap, 1:23.502, scored by car number 73, and he improved that lap to 1:23.288. The number 73 car that we've talked so much about throughout the whole race, the 73 car of Elias and Adroaldo Weisheimer.
Yeah, and we saw
they're flying, guys. They're going fast.
Indeed, especially Enzo in terms of fast lap itself. But we have to praise Adroaldo's pace as well. He was receiving treatment there after getting out of the car, and that lap that you've mentioned was set by Enzo Elias, and almost a spin there.
Yeah, let's see how the tires are holding up, right, for the last part of the race. Here come in the streamline right here in this main straightaway, single line. Then we see at the end of this group, this 5-car group, the number 7 car driven by Miguel Paludo. Maybe it hasn't been the best performance for the 7 car of the season, but I mean, for sure, it's always one of the cars to watch out for.
Yeah, definitely. It has been a difficult year for Miguel Paludo, as you we talked about. Actually, he is sorry, a 7-time champion of the Porsche Cup Brazil Series. So we could expect more from him and his partners in terms of results. But Miguel is a very consistent driver, so sometimes you don't see him that much throughout a race, and then he appears fighting for the win. And we had to remember that last weekend he won a race in the sprint championship, so he gets to this race with a good momentum, let's put it that way, even though their qualifying result wasn't that good. But anyway, we have to praise Miguel for his entire career at Porsche Cup Brazil, and also Denis Girani, one of the most accomplished driver coaches in Brazil, also a consultant for the Porsche Cup Brazil Series. But anyway, it seems that Alceu Feldman and Guilherme Salas, they have a very favorable situation.
Two great drivers behind that number 7 car. Right here, turn number 1. So a couple of minutes ago, he was running in the 5th spot in that group. Now, one car made its way into the pits, and then he moved up another spot right now. So the number 1 car, Salas, is in the pits right now. So maybe he's gonna hand over the
Anthony
to Feldman. Yes.
And now in the track we can see people being more aggressive, especially because we have now 13 laps to go. So now it's the moment to be a little bit more aggressive. Let's see how it's going to be, these all battles with drivers pushing each other.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can sense it. We can see it.
And
we
I think
can
it's
see the intensity. Yes, Carlos.
Definitely. No, especially with the tire degradation as well. Cars lighter and that kind of stuff. But I believe that's the last
They're
pit
checking
stop
some pressures right there,
1.
right? On the number 1, especially the right rear. They were checking pressures.
They want to prevent any puncture there, especially after what happened with their contenders.
I think we heard the reporter might have been confirming something about the number 1 car. Yes, Paludo. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
No, I think she was telling that actually it seems that it is the last pit stop of car number 1. So theoretically, also Feldman will race until the checkered flag.
All right, for the last 13 laps in Goiania, second round of this MasterCard Endurance Challenge. So little by little, might have taken him a few minutes, but finally he was running 5th in that group of cars, but he's made his way up. We're talking about the number 7 car driven by Paludo. The red car, leading this group of Porsches, these GT3s. So number 1 is ready to get back on the racetrack for the final laps.
And that's Adroaldo Weisheimer, so he will step in the car, Enzo Elias step out, and then number 73, it will go until the end with Adroaldo.
All right. So like we said, it was Elias, Adroaldo. Elias now is going back to Adroaldo to finish up the race. This is the Autódromo Internacional Ayrton Senna, 3,835 meters for this beautiful layout, demanding racetrack, 2.37 miles long. Okay, he went a little too wide. I don't know, hopefully doesn't have any issues with the brakes. But that yellow car, he went a little too wide. Was battling with the number 44 car, Gustavo Farah and Sebastián Moreno. They compete in the rookie class in the Carrera Cup 992 Championship. Let's see it again. Actually, he was ahead of these 2 cars. A little bumpy, a little pushing, just a little bit. The 44 of Gustavo Farah. He was ahead of those 2 cars, guys, but the car, he went a little too wide, ended up losing those two positions.
Yeah, it was a yellow car, but I didn't see the number. I believe it was car number 80, if I'm not wrong, or maybe 85. I believe it's 85 actually that is driven by Eduardo Menossi and Pedro Boezo, but I have to confirm.
All right, here we go with Miguel Paludo in the front stretch. Looking on the inside. Going to the turn number one, going for the lead. Yeah, that yellow car, they were battling against these two. And then now I don't see it. He went wide, but came back onto the racetrack. Only I don't see it. He might have, okay, no, that's a different one. That's a different one. He might have gone to pits, maybe.
I believe so, because he didn't lose that much of time to be out of the screen.
Yeah, exactly. All right, boys. Here's the car number one. I really like the performance of the number one car throughout the whole race.
Yeah.
So who's gonna close the deal? Alceo Feldman?
Alceo Feldman.
Yeah,
that's right.
Alceo Feldman.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Till the end, the number one car. Alceo Feldman. Remember, Alceo Feldman and Guilherme Salas, they won the first round in Argentina. Big shout out to the Argentinian friends. So Rio Hondo in Argentina, that was the first round of the Endurance Cup. So they won that first round. With Werner Neubauer and Ricardo Sonta coming into the second place behind the number one car by 4.9 seconds. And Christian Hahn and Diego Nunes, they came in third behind the Feldman and Salas with 6.2 seconds in the third place. That was in the Carrera Cup. Now in the Carrera Sport category, it was Franco Giaffoni and Rubens Barrichello that came out on top. They won their division. And in the Carrera Rookies class, it was Nelson Monteiro and Alan Hellmeister with the 87 car that came out on top in that division in Argentina.
Yeah, and there we see Guilherme Salas now watching the final stint of his car, number one, currently being driven by Alceo Feldman. And we see that these front runners that got good results in Argentina, Termas de Rio Hondo, they have an interesting performance this round as well, apart from that eventful day for Rubens Barrichello and Franco Giaffoni. But when we talk about the sport class, we see now Lucas Salles and Rafael Suzuki in a good performance. So that's a blow for Franco and Rubens. But anyway, the guys from the main Carrera class, they are having a good race, especially, of course, also and Guilherme Salas. But even though the result for Hahn and Nunes and both Neubauer and Zonta, the result tends not to be that good, but it was not due to driving mistakes. It was because of the puncture, even though we can question if they had too long stints there. But anyway, Alceo Feldman in a very good situation, and in the rookie class, Alan Hellmeister and Nelson Monteiro as well.
All right, so they're focusing on the number one. Right now, just barely came out of the pits, but it's the number 7 car that's still leading the category, leading the class, the Carrera class, with Miguel Paludo at the wheel of that red machine, the brand machine.
And so far, even with the punctures, Hahn and...
What's going on over here with the 555 car?
Yeah, investigated because of an overtaking maneuver during safety car deployment. So something from the beginning of the race that they are looking in this moment. But even with the punctures, both cars number 8 and 26, they are so far in podium positions, top 5 of their classes.
All right, that 555 car driven by Darwich and Sergio Jimenez, they compete in the challenge class in the Sprint Challenge Championship. Approaching the end, ladies and gentlemen, lap 67 of 79 scheduled for today's race. 300 kilometers or 2 hours with 45 minutes, whichever happens first. That's the format of competition for the endurance type of racing of this Porsche C6 Bank MasterCard Endurance Challenge. Today from Goiania is the second round. Just waiting for the third and final round that's going to take place in Interlagos. Like Carlos mentioned, that's going to take place in the beginning of December, correct?
Yeah, that's right. December the 3rd. That's it.
All right. So Miguel Paludo, I mean, he's out of the car, just watching. Yeah, absolutely. How's it going, buddy?
Yeah. He now he doesn't have anything, that's possible to do. He's just praying for his teammates and say, let's go to the end. They are in the second position, as we can see, behind Guilherme Salas. So of course they have pace. They maybe have the opportunity to win. 11 laps to go, but for Paludo now, just watch as us and expect something happen to get the victory.
All right. So before it was destined for Paludo, now is everything in the hands of Dirani, his teammate, Dennis Dirani. Until the end, he's going to be driving that number 7 car. So there's nothing else Paludo can do. He already did his job on the racetrack. Now, all he's got to do is just wait and hope for the best.
Yeah, that's it. And it seems that most of the pit stops have already been made, the last round of the pit stop. So the situation and the live timing that we have online, it seems to be a little bit more correspondent to the real position. So Alceu Feldman and Guilherme Salas ahead. Alceu currently driving car number 1 ahead of Girani. Then Adroaldo Weisheimer in the first spot in general terms, leading the rookie class of the Carrera Championship. Nicolas Costa and Jeff Giassi with the 4th spot, so 3rd of the main Carrera class, sorry. And then we have other cars from the sport class championship, especially Cesar Ramos and Giorgio Strangoulis. We have to remember that even though Lucas Salles and Rafael Suzuki, they had an interesting race, they had also an issue with the car. So that's why they are using the spare car. So that's a good situation for their class rivals, especially Ramos and Frangoulis, and also Francisco Horta and William Freire. We still have Christian Hahn and Diego Nunes in the podium positions. The same is valid for Werner Neugebauer and Ricardo Zonta. And when we talk about the Sprint Challenge Championship, the situation seems to be interesting for Carlos Zeno and Luis Razia, but also Nelson Marcondes and Hernan Guerra. They are close to each other. And the sport class is led by Sergio Ramalho, the rookie, by Fabio Carboni and Sadaki Leite in this moment, but there's still a lot of race to come.
Still got 10 laps to go, my friends. Alceu Feldman, we got him right here, coming out of Curva Cero, which is the last turn that takes him to the main straightaway with a healthy lead over the number 7 car. Now he's approaching turn number 1. Alceu Feldman is the leader, car number 1. What a drive, what a performance by Alceu Feldman and Guilherme Salas, but it's Feldman at the wheel of this number 1 green Tag Heuer car, who's leading the race. See, that's right there, that's approaching. We were talking about Mergulo, and then that right-hander, that 180 degree turn to the right, that's Miolo, and then he's going to the left right here on the left on your screens. That's approaching Bico de Pato right here, the Bico de Pato, the duck beak, and he's headed out for the S. That's gonna take him eventually to the last turn, which is Curva Cero, and that Curva Cero, the last turn, is gonna take him back to the main straight.
It's a short track, but a nice track, Tony.
I like it. And guess what? Listen, and things are looking really good. I mean, for Feldman, nobody is pressuring him. I mean, all by him, he can focus on the line, the racing line, because there's nobody behind him. He's got nobody ahead of him, so he's got clean air, nobody behind him, nobody beside him. So, I mean, what else can he ask for, right?
Yeah, exactly. And a good situation also to avoid curbs, look after the tires and so on, because now he has a comfortable gap to Girani, even though Girani isn't that far. If Alceu makes a mistake there, then Girani can close the gap. But anyway, it seems that the situation is quite manageable to Alceu, that is being partnered with by Guilherme Salas, and of course Girani, partner of Miguel Paludo for this race.
Who's looking better, Felipe? The number 7 of Dirani or the one of Alceu Feldman, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think Alceu is in a good position now. Alceu is very experienced driver as well, so he has a kind of gap. I would say now we have the graphics now. Alceu Feldman is racing. Dirani is really fast. Dirani is a guy who is a kind of developed driver of the series. He tests a lot, but Alceu as well is a very good driver. Let's see the sectors. Dirani is faster now. Dirani is a bit
2 tenths
faster.
per lap.
Yeah, 2
something
tenths
like
per lap. Per lap in the second sector, he did 2 tenths as well. Let's see the last sector, but I still think, as Carlos, the difference, the gap is, he can manage. But 7 laps to go with this pace of Denis Dirani, he can get the Alceu, but Alceu is the favorite in my opinion.
Can he catch him, Carlos? 6.5 seconds.
Only if Alceu makes a mistake, I believe. We have to consider that Girani has a better pace, which is natural because Alceu has the lead and is managing the situation, but Girani has to push because any mistake by Alceu Feldman can award him the victory or even the chance to attack and overtake. So I believe that the situation is quite manageable, as I said, but any mistake from Feldman gets this title battle interesting. But anyway, 66 Sadak Leite, and
he went off, but he's coming back onto the racetrack.
Puncture as well.
Leite and Fabio Carbone, 66. Let's take a look. Oh yeah. Okay, so this is probably the third, if not the fourth car that we see that suffers a puncture on the left, the left rear. Yeah, we saw one with the it was number 8 car, right? But it was the right rear.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's been the left rear.
Yeah, I remember 3 left rear punctures.
At least 3, correct.
Yeah, and 1 right here puncture. That is the case with Werner Neugbauer and Ricardo Zonta when Zonta was driving. And we saw there Guilherme Salas already celebrating, even though in a shy way, let's put it that way.
Alceu Feldman and Guilherme Salas. Remember, they won in Argentina, so they're going for another W, for another win. And Paludo looks a little nervous, so they're watching, see what happened to the number 66 car right there with the puncture, went off the track. So 6.5 seconds. See, but
ainda não. Eu prefiro ali dentro, né? Tipo, ali é mais fácil, mas aqui fora é uma disparada no coração, mas acabando essa corrida, ainda bem.
Valeu, Gui.
A quick interview there with Guilherme Salas, and Renata was asking about how he was feeling. A little bit nervous still, but already waiting for the victory, because that's pretty much the situation, even though he isn't able to do anything, but the situation is quite comfortable for Alceu Feldman. Let's wait and see, but the fact is the gap is being a little bit closed, but with 5 laps to go, I believe Alceu Feldman is able to manage the gap there.
Sometimes the driver, when they have such a big lead, 5, 6, 7, whatever that may be, in this case it's 5.3, before it was 6.5. So yeah, so he's gaining on some time Irani on Feldman. Okay, but see, the laps they're running out of laps. Okay, 5 to go. And sometimes the driver, when they have such a big gap, They get too comfortable. They get too comfortable, and that's when mistakes start to happen. All right.
Excessively comfortable.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're too relaxed. Maybe they relax a little too much, and that's when they lowered the guard, so to speak, and mistakes happen. Hopefully, that's not going to be the case with this number one car driven by Feldman. But we'll see. 5 seconds and change, 5.3 is the gap over the number 7 car.
Yeah, 2 laps ago it was 6.8. So we see that Girani is closing the gap, but with 5 laps to go, 4 laps.
Oh,
yeah, that's Lucas Salles and Rafael Suzuki's car. So blow because they were possibly fighting for a class win in the sport class competition there in the Carrera Cup Championship, and that is Sadaki Leite and Fabio Carboni's car with a puncture there. But with 4 laps to go, 5-second gap is quite comfortable.
All right, so it should be a yellow, at least a local yellow.
yeah.
At least a local yellow.
At least a local. You gotta let the guys know that there's a service truck right there.
Yeah, the good thing is that the car is inside the racing line, so they do not need to deploy the safety car, but at least a local yellow.
A local yellow.
Yeah,
exactly.
Carlos mentioned, Tony, in the beginning of the broadcast, last week we had the sprint race. It was madness, a lot of crashes. So this race was much more, relaxed in this sense. And of course, the staff who works in the track, they had a lot of opportunity last week to practice. So they are doing a very quick job to make everything clear. We can see in this footage, in this image now, some pieces, some debris.
Yeah.
From
that first accident, actually.
Exactly. Outside the track, the first safety car was really fast. So I don't think they will deploy the safety car, but of course the yellow flag there is key. It's really important.
I mean, he's coming. The 7 is coming. Now it's 4.5. It's no more 6.5, no more 5.5, but 4.5. So he's coming, the number 7 car, driven by Dirani. So anything can happen. And obviously, at that point, I'm sorry, Feldman didn't want to see a yellow flag, didn't want to see the safety car being deployed, because he would have lost all of those 5 seconds or 6 seconds that he had, that healthy lead he had on the number 7 car. Yes, Carlos.
No, I was going to say that because the safety car would be very good for Denis Girani. But anyway, we are talking about an endurance race, 300-kilometer race, and the gap isn't big considering how long the race is, 4.5, and I believe that they will finish even closer, 3.5, even less maybe.
Think about it, long race, 76 laps, I mean a bunch of pit stops, and the gap is only 4 seconds, right? So that's something else. That's great.
And we have to consider the gap, in terms of grid position. Paludo and Girani started 6th on the grid, and Feldman and Salas, if I'm not wrong, 3rd. So a good job done by car number 7.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah, 4 seconds in this kind of race means almost 4/10 in the regular race. So they are really close, really close. In Argentina was more or less the same. So the series are doing a fantastic job. It's important to mention, Tony, Denner Pires, the guy who run the series, the CEO of Porsche, he does an outstanding job. I would say the Porsche Cup in Brazil, it's one of the best, really best Porsche Carrera Cups, Porsche series all over the world. And we are seeing again in 2022, another fantastic job. They are always, giving a step forward in terms of security, in terms of the car, in terms of the rules, and the race show again what they can do in Brazil Motorsport, in South American, and I would say even international level, because we don't have too many series of Porsche all over the world in this, level of organization.
And from time to time, we have some of these drivers racing in the Porsche Super Cup Series. Of course, one or another race, but
Exactly.
they go abroad and so on. And I think Felipe's remark is very important because Denner Pires is a guy that is involved in sporting matters. He's not just a CEO in terms of business and so on. He is very close to the sporting side of the series as well, Tony.
Guys, it's the last lap. Última volta, like the graphic says. Last lap. We'll see Alceu Feldman. Here comes the number 7 car, but he's got this healthy lead. He's kept him at bay. So I see a lot of people. They're nervous. They want for this thing to end right now. Alceu Feldman, number 1 car. He's had a fantastic race. Great performance by this Tag Heuer. See at the end, we see it in the back. We see Dennis Dirani, number 7, trying to catch him up. But unless Feldman makes a mistake, I mean, he's got this thing in the bag. He's got this thing in the back. He's looking for the checker flag. Here we go. Here comes Alceu Feldman, number 1. Yes, he wants to be number 1. He wants to take that top spot, the number 1 spot in the podium. Little by little, Alceu Feldman. He's in the main straight. Here we go. Alceu Feldman takes the checker flag. Feldman wins the second round of the MasterCard Endurance Challenge in Goiania. Alceu Feldman, Guilherme Salas win this second round. Car number 1. Great effort by the number 7 car driven by Dennis Dirani and Miguel Paludo, but they came in short. Feldman wins today's race.
Yeah, and what a combined effort, Tony. We have to praise that because they had a very balanced combined effort in terms of race pace. Both Guilherme Salas and Alceu Feldman very fast. They were aggressive when they needed to. We have to remember that fight of car number 1 against car number 8. Driven by Ricardo Zonta and Werner Neugbauer. So they were aggressive in the right manner. They didn't expose themselves to punctures or any kind of crash. We have to remember, for example, that the car number 26 went wide in one moment. And Alceu Feldman and Guilherme Salas, they had a clean race, Tony.
I mean, throughout the whole race, we had a little bit of everything, even drama at the very beginning with the 73. We didn't know what was going to happen to Enzo Elias and Adroaldo. They had that issue with the car in the very beginning before the green flag came out, so to speak, before the start of the race. Then we had the issue with the number 3 car, Rubens Barrichello, with the hood popping up. I mean, and then the punctures and the heat and the pit stops, the penalties, and so on and so on. I mean, in my opinion, this car will deserve. I mean, they had a great performance, so very well earned. Felipe.
Yeah, fantastic race. Fantastic race. We had no problems at all. I have to say, in the first lap, just in the start, when we have a safety car, after what we watch in the last weekend, I said, oh my God, it's going to be a long race, but nothing happens. They were great in the beginning. We have now the image of Fragulis and Cesar Ramos, a really strong pair as well. So clean race, fantastic weather, some drivers with a lot of problems. I can imagine the box, the garage of Rubens Barrichello. Rubens is so how can I say, when he push professional, and he push all his team, not just the teammate, the team, the mechanics, the principal.
Encourage the team.
Yes, for sure. And after the pretty amateur mistake with the pit stop, clock, I imagine he will be really angry. Now we can see all the drivers, having their moments, celebrating. We will have the podium, everybody really happy. What a race we have this weekend, this Sunday in Goiania.
See what a class guy right there. Miguel Paludo came to congratulate Alceu Feldman on the win, and then he went to congratulate his teammate Dennis Dirani for that second place, well earned. So overall, a great race, guys. I mean, awesome experience having shared these microphones with you guys. This is great, man. Fantastic race.
Yeah, and nice race throughout the whole pack because we, of course, tend to focus on the main Carrera class, but the sport class, for example, was very interesting to see because it was, in a way, a recovery race for Cesar Ramos and Jorge Strangulis. That's a shame that Lucas Salles and Rafael Suzuki, they had an issue there with the car. They had to use the spare car. They returned to their original car, let's put it that way, and even with the car being fixed, after that middle stint, the original car had an issue and had to retire. Also, we have to praise Weisheimer and Elias winning the rookie class. Very interesting display from Enzo Elias, especially, but Adroaldo had an interesting pace as well that has been highlighted by Felipe, and I think he's quite right to do so. Thinking about the Sprint Challenge Championship, we have to praise Carlos Renault, and Luis Razia. Luis Razia, other former GP2 driver that got actually very close to racing in F1. So we are talking about a high level, a high profile driver, but sport class of the Sprint Challenge Championship with Sergio Ramalho and Josimar Jr. Josimar Jr. has been very fast last weekend. Ramalho is his coach, so that's a win we could expect to see, and that's the case. And in the rookie class, Yuri Alves and Junior Gennady. Junior Gennady got a win last weekend as well, and now being partnered by Alves. So nice battles throughout the whole pack. An eventful race in terms of punctures especially, but a clean race. And we had a lot of overtaking maneuvers, some touches, bumps, and so on, but a clean race. So the high level, the right level actually of aggressiveness and competitiveness throughout the whole pack.
All right, so we got the winners in the three classes in the not only in the Carrera Cup Championship, but also in the challenge.
Yeah, and one mention, Luis Razia, a former. Let's listen Renata first with the interviews, and I mention Razia later.
Lógico, vou repetir aqui. Meu pai disse que é pé quente. Essa é em homenagem ao meu pai que está lá assistindo, em nome da nossa família. Eu te amo muito. Abraço, obrigado.
Parabéns. Gui, a estratégia de vocês deu muito certo. A gente conversou um pouco antes, vocês não ficaram com medo de entregar o que vocês iam fazer e deu certo.
Eu disse antes aí da largada que a temperatura iria ajudar a gente um pouco e ela realmente deu uma ajudada. Essa coisa foi bem difícil e estamos agora no lugar mais alto do pódio.
É isso aí. Vai lá que já estou chamando vocês.
Yeah, we had there Alceu Feldman dedicating the victory to his father, and Guilherme Salas praising the pair's strategy there.
Yeah, so just finishing what I mentioned about Razia. Razia is he has a very long career in Europe in one-seat cars. Formula GP2 because it was before Formula 2. He signed to race in Formula 1, but he didn't have the sponsor, the money to pay, so he lost the place. And he was coming back from a long absence in terms of motorsport racing in Argentina, and he had a lot of problems there. So now he had a very good and clean race. He won in the challenge. Very nice to see Razia coming back and racing so well as this Sunday in Goiania.
An interesting podium there because we have two pairs that aren't from the main class, the main Carrera class. To the left, the purple guys, Frangulis and Cesar Ramos, and to the right, we see the yellow overalls of Enzo Elias and Adroaldo Weisheimer. So, of course, they are competing in the upper class as well if they are able to do so. And that's it Feldman, Salas, Paludo, Girani. Then we had Giassi and Nicolas Costa. We have to praise them as well. And of course, Frangulis and Ramos. And apart from that, we had Adroaldo Weisheimer and Enzo Elias in this main Carreira podium after this Sunday's race.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Everybody's celebrating. I mean, they are fierce competitors on the tarmac, on the racetrack, but off the racetrack, I mean, they're friends, right? Now it's time to celebrate to the victory, if not the podium, after a long race. They went the distance, all 79 laps here in Goiania. So we have some highlights of today's race. We saw a lot of battling, jockeying for position, some drama, like we said, battling side by side. The eventual winners, Feldman and Guilherme Salas, the #1 car, they fought against Christian Hahn and Diego Nunes, the #26 car. Sadly for them, they had that issue with the left rear, so they lost a lot of time right there. But overall, great performance on their part, and congratulations to Feldman and Guilherme Salas winning today's race in Goiania.
Nossa, ó, essa energia tá passando pra mim aqui, de tão felizes que eles estão. Caraca, Gil, que corrida, hein?
Corridaço, tô muito feliz. P4 na geral e ganhamos na Sport. Fazia 2 anos e pouco que eu não ganhava uma corrida, então tô super feliz. E o César, que é meu irmão, que é um cara que me ajudou desde o primeiro dia no automobilismo, era a pessoa ideal para conseguir essa conquista comigo. Então estou muito feliz e o que o cara acelerou é brincadeira, né? Obrigado.
A emoção tá parada na garganta, hein, Cezinha?
Cara, não tá diferente para mim porque, como ele falou, eu vi esse cara sentado no carro a primeira vez que ele foi no carro de corrida. Então, nosso terceiro ano trabalhando junto. Por 2 anos a gente correu contra, então agora a gente é uma dupla. E eu queria muito ganhar com ele. Então, estou muito feliz, muito emocionado, na geral ainda, mas os méritos são dele, porque os profissionais são todos muito parecidos. Quem faz a diferença são eles. Mandou de bem demais desde o primeiro stint. Muito feliz, meu irmão de verdade, meu amigo e minha dupla. Então, estou muito feliz.
Aprendi com os melhores, né? Tinha erro.
Parabéns, meninos. Ivan?
Emotional interview there with Georgios Frangulis and César Ramos, winners of the sport class of the Carreira Cup Championship. Georgios was quite emotional there, celebrating because it had been a while since his last victory, and of course he's a close friend to César Ramos. They have raced against each other in the last rounds, but now as a duo, and of course César Ramos was happy to win with his buddy there. And apart from that, he celebrated the fact that Georgia's pace was instrumental to their triumph, because as he pointed out, the pro drivers that are mostly the gas drivers in this case, they have a very similar pace. So the regular driver, which is sometimes is a gentleman driver, their pace makes a lot of difference overall in the combined effort. So very nice to see them celebrating side by side there, as we see now the podium of the Sprint Challenge Championship. Tony?
I mean, they have every right to celebrate, because, you know, some drivers, they say, we gotta celebrate because we don't know when it's gonna be our last victory, our last celebration. So wise words right there by some drivers. So they got every right to celebrate. Frank Gullis and Cesar Ramos, drivers of the number 88 car, winning their class.
Yeah, now they're announcing the winners of the Sprint Challenge competition. Just to reaffirm here, we have the winners with Carlos Zeno and Luiz Azia in the main class, Sergio Ramalho and Josimar Júnior in the sport class, and Yuri Alves and Júnior Gennady in the rookie class. So that's what's interesting in the series, Felipe, Tony, the fact that we have fights throughout the whole pack, and even with the older cars, if you can say so, the 991-2 cars were used by the Carreira Cup Championship until the end of last year. So we are talking about powerful cars as well. And it's nice to see these podiums, these celebrations. As you said, the environment of this series is very interesting because, of course, there's a high level of competitiveness, but the fact that we have only one team in a way, that is the Porsche Cup Brazil team, it helps in terms of creating a friendly environment, even if you have a rival driver or a rival duo of drivers. But anyway, we see there the podium celebrations of the sport class of the Carrera Cup Championship. So we had the main Carrera podium first, then after we had the main sprint challenge podium, and now the sport class podium of the Carrera Cup Championship.
I mean, we
Tony.
have 2 championships and 6 different classes. Just Felipe.
Yeah, it's what Carlos said. It's really important because we have a lot of story in this podium, a lot of stories in this grid. You know, from the gentleman drivers, from the guests, from the regular drivers. Most of them, Cesar Ramos, the guy who Carlos said, the emotional interview with Fragulis. Cesar Ramos raced in Europe. He won Formula 3 in Italy. He had a test drive in Ferrari. Well, for many reasons, he couldn't stay in Europe more because it's, from Latin American, it's so hard because of the money and the time you have to invest.
Sponsorship.
Sponsorship is so hard. And he's a very skilled driver in Porsche. Fragulis is a very important businessman, really important businessman with his company. He dreams to be a kind of sponsor in Formula One, like Lawrence Stroll, like Toto Wolff. He dreams to be there as well. Now we have an interview. So all these stories are really special in Porsche Cup. Let's go, Carlos.
Parabéns, Renault. Que legal. Cenário totalmente diferente do que a gente teve em Termas, né?
É verdade, é verdade. Apesar de em Termas a gente ter começado
That's
muito
Carlos
bem
Renault,
também,
winner
infelizmente,
of the
a gente
main
teve
sprint
problema
challenge
lá, mas aqui foi tudo
class.
diferente.
Let's hear from
Razia
him.
andou bem pra caramba. Eu acho que eu consegui acertar as voltas aí durante a corrida. A gente teve um bom ritmo e o resultado veio, né? Acho que a gente tá super feliz. Os patrocinadores também estão já falando aí com a gente, estão super felizes. Acho que foi demais. E o pé realmente deu um probleminha aqui. Na hora que eu pulei de cima do carro, eu não calculei que ia doer tanto, mas tá valendo, é um bom motivo.
E agora nem importa mais, né?
Não
Corrida
importa,
Agora pode tudo. Razia, que máximo esse resultado para vocês, né?
Com certeza, a Termas foi bastante difícil porque a gente estava em segundo lugar e acabou saindo logo no começo da corrida. E a gente chegou aqui com a mentalidade de pelo menos terminar a corrida. Depois da classificação a gente se colocou no meio do grid e sinceramente eu não esperava a vitória. Mas durante a prova a gente viu que ambos os ritmos, né, tanto o meu quanto do Carlos, estavam muito bom. E a gente dedicou muito tempo para a estratégia da corrida, que eu acho que é o que mais contou para a gente estar também no primeiro lugar. Ganhar na geral foi muito legal, lavou a alma, né, da Argentina.
É isso aí. Parabéns, meninos. Vamos comemorar, sem quebrar o pé, tá bom? Ivan.
Fun interview there with Carlos Renault and his teammate Luis Azia. Renault has a bit of a pain in his foot, but anyway, now he already won the race, so taking care of the foot, celebrating, and both of them, they compared this round to Argentina's round because, as Felipe said, they had an eventful race at Termas de Rio Hondo, and now a clean race. Luis Azia highlighted the strategy factor, and he revealed actually that he didn't expect to win because their grid position wasn't that good. They were in the middle of the pack, but anyway, clean race, good performance in terms of combined efforts by himself and Carlos Renault in terms of pace especially, and then they can celebrate after that eventful race that they had at Termas de Rio Hondo, Santiago del Estero, Argentina.
So maybe that pain that you're talking about, or that he said right now, Carlos Renault, maybe he didn't feel it at all, or maybe just a little, I don't know, during the race with all the adrenaline going through his body. But once he gets out of the car, I'm sure he's feeling that pain right now.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. This is amazing. Now, just to say, we have the flags from states here. The flags for Brazil has 26 states and the capital. So now people representing their own states, showing their passion for the states they are born or they are from. So yeah, it, it's it's the same with us, Tony. As a commentator, I imagine how many broadcasts you had, maybe a problem, a flu or something in your throat, and then you go to the broadcast, the adrenaline comes, you do your job, and when you finish, man, you are almost dead. So it's almost the same with the drivers, you know. They are maybe with a pain that the leg, or maybe they have flus, they have a fever. They go to the track, the adrenaline comes, they do their jobs, but as soon as they finish, they need somebody to carry them over, to the airplane and come back to their houses. So I'm sure it's the case today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Happens to everybody. And very well said right there, because obviously you've been around, you know how it is. Maybe the night before, maybe you slept for whatever reason. Maybe you had a bad night of sleep. Maybe you slept maybe an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. But then the next day you got a show to do, right? And you do it. And by the end of the show, or once the show is done, you can feel. You feel tired. You just want to go relax. You want to go to bed. But throughout the show or during the show, you got to give it your best. I totally understand that. Because I've been there so many times. And I'm sure you two have been there before as well.
And what a show Porsche gives us. So we have to praise the drivers in the category because they help us in this process as well.
Acho que eu consegui cumprir meu papel da melhor forma possível. E o Adroaldo também superou nossas expectativas do final de semana em si como um todo. E parabéns para ele, para toda a nossa equipe. Saiu tudo como planejado e ganhamos na categoria, quinto na geral.
É isso, Adroaldo, impressionante a sua evolução de Termas de Rondo para cá. Uma etapa só, foi incrível.
Na verdade, o Enzo é um baita professor, para mim é o melhor piloto que tem, né? Tá voando baixo. Em Termas eu não consegui treinar, né? Eu perdi o voo, então isso comprometeu. Mas eu me dediquei bastante com ele aí. Mas é o resultado muito mais para ele aí, que me entregou o carro em primeiro aí, eu só fui mantendo.
Pô, e agora daqui pro avião, é isso?
4 da tarde eu tô embarcando pro Mundial de Rally, vou representar o Brasil lá, na Espanha. E lá é diferente, lá eu quero botar ele um dia.
Vai ser uma troca aqui. Os pilotos não param. Você topa?
Eu topo o desafio. E ele vai fazer a mesma coisa que ele fez aqui hoje, vai levar lá no Mundial.
Boa, parabéns, dupla. Ivan, com você aí.
Yeah, nice chat there with Enzo Elias and Adroaldo Weisheimer. Enzo was celebrating their class win, P5, as a whole in the Carrera Cup Championship. He was also praising Adroaldo's pace. And of course, it was quite different from the situation they had in Argentina because Termas de Rio Hondo, Adroaldo missed the plane, he revealed. So he missed the flight, lost training sessions. Termas de Rio Hondo, and of course that compromised the whole weekend in terms of pace and so on. But now he had time to train, and now has to run because he has a plane to Spain in order to compete in a lower class in the World Rallying Championship, in which he wants to put Enzo Elias for a round or two. But anyway, nice interview there with the class winners of the rookie class of the Carrera Cup Championship, Tony.
The 002 that we're showing us right now competes in the sprint challenge. The Junior Dinardi and Yuri Alves. Right. Everybody was tense, especially towards the end of the race. So, going back to the final laps, probably the final 5 laps, that number 7 car, he was coming, guys. I don't know if that would have been, if they had, had another 3 more laps, I don't know what would have happened. It would have been a closer gap between the eventual winner, Alceo Feldman and Dirani. But that red machine, man, that 7 car, he was coming fast at the end.
Yeah, Dennis Irani is a beast, man. When he push, he is one of the toppest go-kart drivers ever, Dennis Irani in Brazil. Him and his brother, Danilo Girani, they are really respectful here. And as I mentioned, here in Brazil, Dennis Girani does the test driver, sometimes for Porsche. So he knows the car, he knows the series, He's really, really strong. And in the end, he was pushing, man, as you mentioned, Tony. He was really, maybe with 5 laps more, he could even go further and try to attack to grab this victory.
Guys, I don't know, are we saying goodbye right now or are we staying on the air?
That's it. That's
All right, we're wrapping it up. Carlos, Felipe, it's been a pleasure. Thank you guys so much. I learned a ton with you guys. Muito obrigado.
Thanks a lot, Tony. It was an honor. Thank you, Felipe, as well.